She's good. She is good. Very good. How are you?
Can I say something right in the beginning?
Sure. Right at the beginning of the meeting?
No, just right now.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I'm opposed.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know.
Did you hear that very well?
I did.
Okay. Now, you can't say anything because you've got a son or that's married to the Smith. I mean,
daughter.
yeah. Your daughter, is it your daughter?
No, my son.
Your son married to the.
I don't vote anyway.
Yeah, we do need to have more than this. I haven't talked to anybody else today other than Bryce. I knew Bryce was coming.
Seems like somebody was going to be on the bridge.
Blake. He's in South Dakota or North Dakota? Yeah, there would be three of us. But I mean, I would be shocked if the others don't show up. Sheldon usually runs a little bit late. Since it's just you and me, Brian, do you want to do a prayer or pledge? You told me. I'll give you a good choice. You're first here. So. Want to do a pledge? Okay. I can do either. All right, awesome. Thanks, guys. Pledge when they come. So, anything, I guess. It's kind of hard to hear fast at the occasion here.
Do it.
At the back, so because these things I printed out for reference, and there are since COVID, I actually had I was talking about how many days for the petition, and I had people were sent to me. Yeah, I took my photos out, and then also I had a few more sent to me. Yeah. I came, but I did not have time to prep them out. There are additional
Good to see you. Good to see you. And see Kate's good. See comes.
Okay, I do have a couple questions. Okay. Sorry. No, that's okay. I am glad you have questions. Let me just get this straight. so big that I can't tell. Well, you can, it doesn't even fit on the page, so that's what I'm looking at. See, and I can make it bigger. My understanding, based on the description, I think sorry, they need to have a and then this is the see, this does, or somebody else does. Developer wants to put in the Smiths and mixed use residential.
Thank you.
It's like 6 hours a week. So, I just didn't know that these were already sold. Okay. Well, I said he'd do the prayer. So, we'll see. I teach Sundays for a reason. Yes. That's okay. So what were your questions? Okay.
Smith, Geographic Center,
Just gonna write that down.
the first couple of times, I just told Sherry after the first two, let me know when those two
So that's what the 7. I think they're using Sheldon? Yeah. That's not your end. Is that what you meant? Tara Stroud.
Stephanie Russell last week, and she's, I don't know if she's that week before or after her, I was going to bring up, do a little analysis on the West Point Smith, School Progress Smiths, and then when I get more subdivisions, give an idea of calls for service and possible increase based on
Okay. Did you hear that? Okay. Sorry. So is this something you want to address to people?
Stephanie asked me to ask me.
Okay.
So I brought you a copy of what, try to summarize that page, and you got it right in front of you with the third page, that's West Point Smith.
Sorry, Jeff. Okay, sorry.
You're right.
Do you want me to read?
Yeah.
Okay, so you said the third page, so that's
Third page,
one.
that's West Point calls for service. Next two pages are Skyview Estates, and the calls for service, and that's just off the half mile range around 3095 South, 600 West.
And is this annually?
That's call volume
Right here.
2023.
2023.
And the last two pages are North Point Smiths, which are obviously way higher, but you've got that last page. Population density, we're not going to see that activity.
The last page is over here.
Yeah, the very last page, that's what North Smiths is, but there's all the businesses, all the houses that are around there. So I didn't address that in the first two pages, because I think West Point Smiths is a lot more, they didn't give you a crime map, they just sent out a step. I think that one's more, they give them the immediacy out there, and Smiths did happen.
So is this something that if I were to read the first 2 pages out loud, that would be a pretty good summary of what this is so that the people in attendance
I think Russell's going to have me address that. Stephanie Russell.
in front of everybody? Okay, I didn't realize Stephanie was. Okay, all right. Okay.
People ask her where she's right here, and she wants you to read the first two pages and just go over it. The planning commission, or do you want me to address that? Do you want me to address the city planning commission?
Were you here, Mr. Okay. Sheldon? Okay, all right. Okay, thanks.
So do you prefer, you want to do two, or you want me to address, or just be available for questions?
It doesn't matter to me. I wasn't aware of it, so I didn't know like we needed to go a lot time for it. So I'm assuming that during the presentation, maybe once I would assume that we would want to, the developers present. So she said she wants you to just address that. She's planning on it.
She lets it go. So you're out for like
Could you maybe summarize it if we can have a few minutes? That's great. Okay. So I wanted to ask you guys how you felt at the beginning. I was going to suggest that I'm going to remind everybody they have 3 minutes and only one time under the microphone. But I was going to see if the commission could not respond to questions right when they're being asked so that the citizens have a full 3 minutes. And then if we can kind of keep track of their concerns and questions and then when it comes back to us, answer those. Do you guys think that's okay? So we don't cut into their time. Okay. Time limit on again? Yeah, they always have a I mean that.
Total time limit?
I don't like it's this way. I don't know.
Yeah, we did it last time because we had already heard public comment before. And this is I think people, we gotta hear what they say. So.
Yeah. So 10 minutes. Any questions that you guys have? One of the questions we need to find out. So they talked about possibly wanting the city to do a CRA. Are you familiar? So
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you'll please come in and have a seat. Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. If you'll please come in and have a seat. I didn't know I was a ventriloquist. Something's not working right. You didn't know I was a ventriloquist. That's okay.
See if we're still.
Want me to try to say something? Testing.
Should be okay.
Okay, we want to welcome everybody out to our Planning Commission meeting. Want to recognize Commissioner Severing, who's joining us by Zoom. He is out of state right now, but he will be participating in this meeting. Let's see. We will go ahead and have a Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Greener and then a reverence by Commissioner Widdowson.
Father in heaven, grateful that we can be gathered here tonight, grateful for this community that we live in and the country that we live in, the freedoms that we enjoy. Pray that we may have a good meeting tonight, that we may strive to understand and learn things that will be a benefit to our community. Please help us to be patient and understanding. Grateful for those who serve and protect our country. Please bless them and their families. We say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioners. Okay, so there is only one item on our agenda this evening, and that is a rezone request for Terra Strata LLC, located approximately at 5500 South, 4700 West. Do we have a presentation on that?
Yes. Okay. Will you go to the next slide?
Okay, so this is for a rezone request for Terra Strata LLC. The request is for them to going from low density to commercial C2, and then a residential mixed use planned unit residential. And then the next slide is just what was provided in the packet, just the color coordinated map of what they're proposing to tonight, and then I'll just let them talk with all of that.
Okay. Thanks, Morgan. Maybe I'll take this opportunity to announce this is a public hearing, so there will be an opportunity for public comment. We want to please ask that you be respectful with your comments, not shouting out. This meeting is being recorded and also live streamed through Zoom on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah.
And so if you're not at the microphone, people that are listening at home or that look at this recording later on will not know what you're saying. And it's also difficult for the commission to hear what you're saying when you're shouting out. So please let's be respectful of everybody. And when we move into public comment, you will have 3 minutes at the microphone. Morgan will have a time card that she will help you keep track of your time. We've been asked to have you only come up to the microphone one time per person. Also, if you have questions or concerns, I'm going to ask that the commission not answer those questions and concerns directly when you are asking your questions. We want to make sure you have the full 3 minutes to express your views, questions, and concerns. Have questions or concerns? We're not going to ask that the commission not answer those questions and concerns directly when you are asking your questions. We want to make sure you have the full 3 minutes. Yeah, it's important to hear this part. Your views, concerns. And then we will try to keep track to the best of our ability of the questions and concerns that you bring up, so that when the discussion comes back up to the commission, we can hopefully address all of those, but we don't cut into your 3 minutes. Sometimes what happens when you guys come up and you ask questions and then we try to address those, your time gets eaten up by our response. So hopefully that will help us to have a good meeting and you guys will feel like you're able to express your questions. And so let's see, I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay, we will go ahead and ask if there's anyone here from the developer that would like to come up and tell us a little bit about your project. And when you come up to the microphone, please state your name and address.
Good evening, I'm Brett Wallen with Anderson Wallen and Associates, consulting engineers, land development consultants. My address is 2010 North Redwood Road, Salt Lake City, Utah. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk about this rezone request. Previously, we've had one meeting with the City Council and a workshop. After that meeting, we did also meet with residents that were there that evening. We've had 2 additional meetings with residents prior to this. Our firm has represented Smith's Food and Drug in a number of projects located in this area, one in Kaysville, if you're familiar with that one, the one up the street in West Point, and another one in North Ogden in the last probably 10 years. We do all of their projects. We also work with Terra Strata, LLC, and Stuart Adams with their projects. So we look forward to the opportunity tonight to present this rezone application. The plan that you see here is changed slightly from some of the meetings that we've had. The Smith's Food and Drug Marketplace store is a 123,000 square foot store. That would be the anchor for this retail development. We have 6 pads planned for the development to be a combination of quick serve, financial institutions, and general retail and a fuel center. The Smith's Food and Drug typically has a fuel program that they utilize in conjunction with their store, where they have frequent shopper discounts, in-store discounts that apply to the fuel. We have roughly 25 acres of retail that's planned for. We have also asked in this zoning application for the residential that is planned to the north of the retail center. We have planned unit development, a PUD that is anticipated 15 acres directly behind the grocery store, with R4 residential abutting the west end and R2 residential on the north end. There are also some residential along 4700 South at the northeast corner of this property that's been incorporated into this rezone application. That's slightly different than what the city has seen previously. We are working working with the city, and some of the comments we had, we are planning to try to get access to 4700 West and tie that across to the residential development to the west, the existing roadway, so that the residential development does not have to access through the commercial development. In the process of doing that, the landowners have requested that we incorporate their land in the rezone request so that it could potentially be developed simultaneously or near the same timeframes. Typically with this type of request, we would start with the rezone application. If in fact we are approved for the rezone application between the Planning Commission and the City Council, then we would proceed to do site plan approvals. And during those site plan approvals, typically we would work with the city to accommodate architectural elevations, any site improvements, and further design. So typically at the zoning portion of the process, we usually just have a rough concept and then we work into the details. But we are definitely prepared to answer any of your questions this evening regarding the project and how we would typically respond. Smith's Food and Drug just recently opened a store in Heber City. That's the newest store. It was opened recently last month. And so it's another good opportunity to see what the marketplace opportunities has. The marketplace is a full service grocery and hardware store, so to speak, where you have dry goods and all sorts of retail. We can talk about that in general, but in this case it has a drive-through pharmacy located on the southeast corner of the building and a pickup area for grocery store pickup. So you can call in, order your groceries online, and then you can just pick them up in those stalls. They'll bring those out. The truck docks are anticipated to be on the north side of the store. Those are fully screened and incorporated. We anticipate having a block wall on the back and the side of the store and abutting any of the residential development, and to screen off the commercial uses is fairly typical with our request. As we've reviewed your general plan, it appears that the application we have in front of you is substantially in conformance with the general plan, where it indicates that this corridor would be planned for commercial uses and higher density residential. In our discussions up to this point, some of the comments we've gotten are related to the residential. To be noted is that the planned unit development is not planned for any apartments. We've agreed that we would have no apartments on that planned development. Currently, we are looking at patio homes and townhomes. There's been some concern regarding the townhomes, and so we're open to that discussion. If in fact that's a stumbling block for this project, we're open to reconsidering townhomes. And also along the west boundary, there's been some discussions about whether or not we would consider matching the R3 instead of R4. So we're open to those discussions as well. That's pretty much my presentation for this evening. I appreciate the situation that the city has here, being in Hooper. In a prior life, early in my career, I spent 6 years with Woods Cross City. I was their city manager and kind of had multiple hats and trying to bring a community along in their maturity and dealing with development and dealing with zoning codes and general plans in general. And it's a challenge, and it's a fun process. So we stand for any questions that you have. We also, I believe, Stephanie Russell is here from Weber County that could speak to some of the potential benefits and impacts to the project like this. And I believe the Sheriff's Department is also here to speak to what potential impacts there may be from a police perspective.
Can I ask you a question on those on the lots that you said have been added, the property owner that wanted those included, are those the 3 that we see in brown right there?
Along,
Just to
yes,
make
on the
sure
very
so
side.
the public is aware which ones we're talking
Yes,
about. Okay.
correct. They
And
abut
those are
on,
in the half
they-
acre?
they
zone?
abut on, yes, they're a half acre, they abut on 4700 West.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to give everybody that you brought with you a chance to speak before we ask any questions. I don't know, do you want to go next, Stephanie, or?
Stephanie Russell, 611 Plum Creek Lane, Ogden. Commissioner, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Did have the opportunity to meet with Commissioner Prince earlier this month, and one of the things that she had some concerns about, as well as wanted us to look into gathering some information on crime statistics and what that would look like from a law enforcement perspective. So I have Lieutenant Langley here today to talk a little bit about that. But before I turn the time over to him, I just wanted to reinforce, last week I had the opportunity to come to the City Council meeting and do a presentation on community reinvestment agencies and community reinvestment areas. And this particular project offers an opportunity to the city that's very unique. And we all know that there's some serious infrastructure concerns around this particular project as it relates to your sewer. And there's also going to have to be some infrastructure in terms of transportation that would be a part of this project as well. The county is in a position that we like to come out and support our cities in the county as it relates to economic development. This particular project is going to bring in a significant amount of sales tax for your city, and it's going to bring in some property tax for the county. So the county is willing to enter into an agreement where we can leverage some of that property tax that would naturally have gone right to the county. It's your increment, so it's not a tax imposed on any of the taxpayers. It's increment tax that the property owner and developers would be paying to the county because of the assessed value of their project once the project's completed. And we're able to take some of that increment and roll it back into your city in the form of infrastructure improvements. So I've spoken with the commissioners about this, and this would be something that they would be very open to running through our Economic Development Finance Committee and entertaining the opportunity to help do some infrastructure, particularly as it relates to your sewer and the lift station that's needed for this project, as well as the adjacent projects when it comes to your housing projects. So that's something that I'd like this commission, as well as the city council members, to take into consideration as they're deciding if this is a good fit for your community. We did some original retail leakage studies, and this type of business is definitely needed in the community. There's an opportunity for this type of business to be very successful as it relates to competing businesses of the same type in the area. And it's an opportunity for the city to gain that extra amount of sales tax, and then the property taxes that would naturally go to the county, some of that would be reinvested back into your community in the form of infrastructure. So this is an opportunity to take advantage. It's a very unique opportunity to take advantage of the incentive programs that we offer on the county level, and also to put some revenue stream into your community to address some of the infrastructure issues that you have. The infrastructure doesn't just impact this particular parcel, it impacts the surrounding and adjacent parcels as it relates to some of the housing projects and some of the other commercial pieces that are in your general plan in this particular area. So I just wanted to let you know that there's a bigger picture to this project. It's not just going to benefit your community, but it's going to be able to lay a foundation for further development that's desperately needed in this community. So thank you for the time, and I'm going to turn some time over to Lieutenant Langley.
Thank you.
Good evening. Lieutenant Terrence Lively, Weaver County Sheriff's Office, 1400 South Depot Drive. Mrs. Russell asked me to do basically a crime analysis of what the possible cost impact to the city and crime impact would be to the city from the Sheriff's Office standpoint. So I started out by reaching out to the Davis County Analysis Center and requested calls for service in the 2023 calendar year for the West Point Smiths. They reported that West Point Smiths had 203 calls for service. The two largest volume calls for service were theft or shoplifting at 25 calls and traffic accidents with property damage at 14 calls. Felony level crimes accounted for only 3 of those calls: aggravated assault 1, forgery 1, fraud 1. I also reached out to Weber County Analysis Center and asked for a crime analysis of one of Hooper's newer subdivisions, the Skyview Estates at 3985 South, 5600 West. From that address, they gave me a half-mile radius of calls for service in the 2023 calendar year. There were 158 calls for service within that half-mile radius. Most common issues were animal complaints and extra patrols. Felony level crimes accounted for 6 calls, 5 frauds, and 1 child abuse. So the financial impact from the Sheriff's Office, what we would charge on the 60-40 split with 60% calls for service, 40% population. Hooper currently accounts for 6.73% of the calls for service on that 60% side of it, adding 150 calls based off of the subdivision numbers and just kind of going with an easy number. That would take it up to 6.92%, resulting in an estimated $8,500 per year in law enforcement costs based on the 2024-25 allocation. However, I also did find it interesting to note that on the current contract with Hooper increased 903 calls for service, but you were outpaced on that 60-40 by all the other contract cities, and your contract fee with the Sheriff's Office actually went down on the current allocation $42,000 because you were outpaced. So a subdivision or Smiths is going to increase calls for service, not by a large number, and with the way the other cities are moving, West Haven's talking about bringing in a Walmart, their apartment complex is going up, you're probably going to continue to be outpaced, and it's hard to say what an actual financial impact is going to be to the city from the Sheriff's Office, possibly still continue to decrease or maintain where you're at with the growth of the other cities. And from a crime-wise, and having been a law enforcement officer here for 24 years, 200 calls for service isn't a large number, or 150, so there's not a big impact to what the Sheriff's Office would have to add to our calls for service in the city. Any questions for me?
So just to clarify, our services that we pay for through the Sheriff's Department, we pay per call. That's how it's done, or?
It's 60% on calls for service, 40% population growth for all of the contract cities. One of those contract cities is considered also to be unincorporated Weber County. And depending on the number of calls for service is where your allocation comes from. Hooper currently accounts for the 6.73% of those calls for service on that 60% of it.
Okay, so on the $8,500 per year number that you mentioned, was that based off of, because you mentioned population growth, was that taking into consideration if this is filled out as proposed with that many homes going in? I don't know how you guess how many population, or how much the population would change.
I just went calls for service to kind of keep it quick and simple, because I don't know how many residents we'd actually end up in there if it was a subdivision or with mixed use that they're talking about, or if you just went with a straight subdivision to say, what kind is that subdivision going to look like?
Okay.
No idea how to say on that, so I went.
Okay, sure.
People don't understand it.
Sure.
It's a little bit of a complicated formula, but the cost of the Sheriff's Office providing services to all the cities that they contract with and the unincorporated county is lumped together in one chunk, and it's a certain amount each year. That amount is divided between the cities and the unincorporated county based on a formula that is based 60% on calls for service and 40% on population. So yes, calls for service will increase it slightly, but it's part of a much, much larger picture.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission for Lieutenant Laker?
The 203 calls for service for the West Point Smiths, does that include all pads around it, or is that just the Smiths building itself?
I didn't specifically ask. I'm going to assume they probably did the same thing that our analysis center did and went off the dispatch address of West Point Smiths. So to the Smith store, 203 calls for service, but they didn't do an area analysis like we did around the Skyview Estates.
So it's likely more, but higher based off of
The residents around there and the other businesses and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Just lastly, again, Brett Wallen with AWA. We have done some estimates related to the tax revenues that could be collected by the city, and I thought that was probably important based on this last discussion. We estimate the first year of opening that the city would receive roughly about $18,000 in property tax and $464,000 in sales tax. The total between the two is about $482,000. Over a 20-year time frame, it's about $11.6 million. And I just felt that it's important to understand the overall benefits, not only the services provided, but also the revenue generated that the city would collect specifically.
So over a 20-year time frame, 11.62 million cumulatively, like if you added each year up.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do you have anybody else from the developer that you would like to present anything? So at this time, does the commission have any questions for the developer before I open this up for public comment?
I have one. If,
Sorry, can we have, I don't know who, maybe you'll not know unless you hear the question first, but.
is this plan, there's always talk, and not to sound like I'm one of those weird people, but if we go into a recession, are we still going to continue with this plan, or will that halt it in any way? Because I don't think you want like a half-empty building sitting there.
Traditionally or typically, once the building goes under construction, we see those finished.
Okay.
I think that's really your question. Once they make the commitment, I guess there's always a potential for some black swan type of event that you see once in a century. But on a typical basis, a slowdown in the economy, once they start, would not halt the store. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you.
What is the speed at which we can expect construction to?
Good question. The two things. It takes us, we have in general plan on about a year for planning and development, entitlements, and putting construction drawings together. And then it takes about 12 to 14 months to build. So once we get started, it's about a 2-year window. We anticipate at this point, sometime in the window of a 27 or a 28 opening from what we can see today.
What about the pads? Is that concurrently with that?
We would anticipate doing those concurrently. There's always a possibility that you could do those. You could do a pad or two, but the reality is those pad users are looking for the synergy that comes from the marketplace store, and so it probably wouldn't be appropriate. Also, when we develop the center, one of the good things in this process is we would have one contractor out there doing all of that work, getting the pads ready for development. So they would put the utilities in and grade the site out and put landscaping at a minimum along the frontage. And then if pad users come shortly thereafter, they would have a different contractor. But the main grading and utilities would have happened with the Smith store.
Can you speak to what the timeline would look like as far as the commercial portion of this and the residential portion if it's approved?
Yeah, I probably want Stuart maybe to speak to the residential. I think he could probably address that better. Stuart, you good with that?
It'll probably follow very closely. Part of the infrastructure problems, has been mentioned by the economic development director, as the sewer pump station. It'd be very difficult to build any residential without sewer. So the economics of it would probably require the commercial and the residential happening at the same time, not because the residential couldn't move faster, which it probably could, but without a sewer, it can't move. So the economics of the sewer have to start before the residential can go on. And I would guess that the $2 million requirement for the sewer will probably require both the commercial and the residential to solve that.
I have a few questions. So I printed off your application, and when a developer makes an application with a request to open up the general plan for a rezone, they need to give some reasons of why this is something that would be a good thing for the city. And so if it's okay, I'd like to just address a couple of those and ask a few questions. The first comment that I'm reading, justification for rezoning, number 1, community needs and economic growth, economic vitality. The introduction of commercial spaces will stimulate local economic growth by attracting new businesses, creating jobs, and increasing the tax base. This will provide a significant boost to the local economy and enhance the vibrancy of the area. So my question would be, what evidence do we have that this will provide a significant boost to the economy that will offset the accompanying costs? And I know we have talked about a fiscal impact analysis, and that's something that was brought up again in the last city council meeting, that they would like to have something like that done. And so I just wanted to find out if you are open to doing that. And my understanding would be that the city council would determine the firm that would do that, and that the developer would pay for that. That was what was expressed in the council meeting this past week, and also what we spoke about in the meeting that we had her prior to. So could you talk a little bit about that? Is that something you're open to doing? What are your thoughts?
Again, Brett Wallen with AWA. We have already completed a review of a fiscal analysis of the benefits of the project, and some of that information is confidential to and proprietary to the Smiths, their corporate development and marketing and sales, that they don't like to share. But we are prepared to provide a copy of what we've completed to the city. And in our discussions with Mayor Bingham, as recently as last week, we committed to do so and indicated that it's fairly simple to confirm the benefits that we've already talked about. As far as property taxes are minimal, your tax rate is almost non-existent, so there is not going to be a significant generation of property tax to the city. But the sales tax is significant, and it's fairly easy making a phone call to West Point City, North Ogden, or Kaysville, talking to their administration and confirming roughly the scale and magnitude of those sales tax dollars. In this situation, we have only estimated those two numbers at this point. There may be some impact fees or de minimis fees that the city has, maybe some franchise taxes or other things. We have not. We've conservatively estimated those impacts, is what I'm saying, and benefits to the city. And it's fairly simple to do. If the city is interested in doing its own study, we would support their opportunity to do so, but we wouldn't anticipate wanting to do another study on our own behalf.
Yeah, when I mentioned the fiscal impact study the first time I spoke at your meeting, one of the things that is included in doing that type of analysis is exactly what the developer is going to provide, is that is the project beneficial to the city from a fiscal standpoint? And the answer to that question is yes, for several reasons. And you can have a professional complete this analysis for you, or you can just look at your basic economics of where the city's at in their budgeting. So currently, the county collects a very minimal tax from the city as it relates to property. And then you guys receive some of that money back based on your taxing entities. That money is less than $350,000 a year. So that's one of your primary revenue streams. Your infrastructure needs outweigh your revenue streams, and that's what a fiscal impact study is going to show. It's going to show that this project has a positive fiscal impact on your community. So you can have that contracted out, or you can just look at what are we bringing in, what is our revenue stream, what are our expenditures, and does this project add to the expenditures or does it alleviate the expenditures? So you're looking at a project that's going to bring in close to $500,000 a year. That's more than what you guys bring in property taxes. Additionally, with an increase in your security, which we looked at, and that's part of a fiscal and impact analysis, just to see what other services are impacted by any type of development on a particular parcel. $500,000 in sales tax revenue is pretty significant compared to a lift of $8,500 in our sheriff's department. And that may even be a lower number. We were kind of estimating high on that. So you can go ahead and contract that out, but they can provide you with that information on their end, and then you look at it on your end from a city perspective, and you say, this is what we're currently bringing in, this is what we need to expend. And right now, the city of Hooper has a very small revenue stream, and they have a lot of infrastructure lifts that are catching up with that revenue stream. Does that make sense? So this is a way to bring in an additional revenue stream to offset the existing expenses that exist in the city, particularly as it relates to your stormwater system, as it relates to your sewer system, which are significant costs that currently don't have revenue budgeted towards them, but need to be taken into consideration as you're addressing your growth needs in the city, and as you're addressing your revenue streams for future potential to maintain a functioning city balance sheet. Any questions? And if you want the tax information from the county, I'm happy to provide that. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, one of the other comments that was made in the application that was turned in, there's a growing demand for diverse housing options in our community. This development will offer affordable housing alternatives, addressing the needs of young professionals, families, and retirees. I'm just curious how you would afford, or how you would define affordable housing, and what you can do to guarantee that these homes will be affordable.
Yeah, in my mind, I'm probably an old guy, but I would think the first home should have sold around $67,000. But I can hear the laughs behind me. The latest estimates that first homes are in the range of $400,000 to $450,000, $500,000. Townhomes maybe $375,000 to $400,000. So it's a hard number to swallow in my mind. I hate to even say those numbers. Most of the incentive monies that have been given by the state, one program I'm very aware of, is that first home buyers can receive a $25,000 credit from Utah Housing, and that can be used for their down payment, for their closing costs, or to buy down the interest rate, because we've seen interest rates up at 7%. So you get a lower interest rate, you can actually qualify for more. And that money has to be paid back. We don't give money away as a state, but that money is a loan that has to be paid back when the home is refinanced or when it's sold. But the criteria for that is homes $450,000 or lower. I think the average I saw the other day was that most, I think the average is over $400,000. Townhomes make just under $400,000. They're taking advantage of that program. I guess that's low-income housing. I don't know. You got to make a lot of money to afford one of those homes. And so we would anticipate that in the patio home area, in that PUD, that we would probably try to hit that price point if it was possible. We would not be able to hit that price point with the quarter acre or third acre, half acre lots they'd be. And homes right now, I'll let the home builder, we don't build homes. We'll find a home builder to do it. But I think they're up in the $500,000
So can I just ask you a follow-up question on that? And I know this is maybe kind of a sideline question, but with the first home buyer, the $25,000 program that you were talking about, is there a forgiveness period on that? I know you said it had to be paid back, like, so
So if you keep your home for 30 years, you sell it, you gotta pay
you
back.
have to pay it back.
There's no forgiveness.
Okay.
There is I guess there is a forgiveness of sorts. It doesn't have an interest rate on it, so you're not incurring interest costs. So if you keep it for 30 years, you get a 30-year free loan, I suppose. But you still have to pay back the principal. The idea behind that is it revolves, and when you pay it back, somebody else can use that money again. So it is kind of a revolving fund to try to get people. And it came about because we saw a big push for apartments. And everybody talked about apartments for basically affordable housing. And apartments don't build equity. Apartments don't build the self-esteem that comes from owning something. They just don't work, I believe, especially when people go through life and they get a little older and then they retire and they've got a home paid for, they can handle retirement better. If they're still paying a rent or some type of payment for their housing, it'll affect, I think, the economics of our community. So all the way around, home ownership is what really ought to be pushed, not affordable housing. And I think that's why we pivoted a year or so ago, trying to look at how to get people into homes. And we used to build homes. The homes we sold started at $67,500, and they went up from there. And it's hard for me to say $450,000, but that's where they're at now. And it's really difficult. We think we can hit some of those, and you'll have to talk to some local builders as to what they can do or not, because I'm not an expert in that. But thank you.
Can those homes be rented out if they utilize that program?
I don't know if they can or not. I have to look at it. Utah Housing Program probably let me look at the fine print on it. But the effort was to try to get people equity in their homes. It's a little difficult when you start to control sales or rentals. Just a kind of a free market event. It's a little difficult to do in a society that likes free market type of processes. But most of them, those that are buying their first home, taking advantage of the program, probably don't have enough capacity to build another home and rent this one out. They usually don't. So it's usually buy the home, sell it, then move on to another home. But I'm not sure whether there's a restriction.
Okay.
But practically, it's probably hard to do for them.
Okay, sorry, I still got a few questions. Under community enhancement, enhanced amenities, the development will include amenities such as green space and community gathering areas, which will enhance the quality of life for residents and visitors. What type of amenities do you plan on including in the project?
Well, again, we have not done a final design, so depending on the ultimate zoning and the PUD, typically when we do a planned unit development, there are some amenities that come with it. So you're usually doing smaller lots and trying to provide some open space. So whether we had a small park or a pavilion or some amenities like that, that is all under consideration. We would work with the city to try to provide amenities that are appropriate for the residential uses.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission before we open this for public comment?
I'm just concerned about who's paying for most of the sewer houses being put in. Is that the city or the new sewer station? Is that are you guys taking the cost of that, or is the city, or how are we dealing with that since we have to put in a new station?
We don't know. We just know that in order for us to build, we've got to solve that problem. I think it would take the revenue off of this project. I think there was other builders that wanted to build elsewhere, but I think it's going to take all the above to try to get to that $2 million figure. So we're not sure exactly, but we know this project will help, and we're still not sure all the economics of it. We haven't gone through that.
Okay.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so we are going to go ahead and open this up to public comment. I do have some comments that were sent in by some citizens that were not able to be here. And so we have a copy of those in our packet that I given to the commissioners. Should we read those now, or do you want to let the people that are here first talk? Okay, we'll let you guys have the microphone first, and then we'll read these in when you are finished. And again, please be respectful of each other. Let's not shout out. 3 minutes per comment, one time at the microphone. Morgan will give you the cue cards so that you know how much time you have left. The commission will not answer questions, or the developer, during your 3-minute time. We will wait until we bring it back up to the commission for discussion. So, and when you come up to the microphone, please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Mary Simpson, 4311 South, 5900 West in Hooper. And I was previously very involved in all of this, what's going on, and some part of me is sad that I'm not, and a bigger part of me is glad that I'm not. But my comment tonight is that I want to encourage our commission to protect and support and preserve the excellent document, our general plan, that the commission and the citizens worked really hard to develop and was approved approximately 3 years ago. My understanding is, and the way I remember it, is the area in question is shown in the general plan as the frontage being commercial use. And the remainder residential behind that was set aside as 3/4 acre, so that we had the step up from 1 acre west of 5900, 3/4 acre in the middle, and 1/2 acre for any new development on the east end to help preserve the character of Hooper. I feel very strongly that we should adhere to that. I know it makes it pretty unfeasible financially for the developer to try and do that, but that's still our general plan. That still is what we have. And our city motto says to preserve our past, protect our present, and prepare our future. And I want our city planning commission to keep that in mind and know that this development will forever change the face, the character, and the future of our community. The number that was just presented to us for $480,000 a year in sales tax revenue to the city in the first year seems like a really nice number. And yes, we can do something with it. But my question to the Planning Commission is, how much did that little section of 5500 West cost? How much money did we spend there? And it would take several years of all of the additional revenue to be set aside into one pot of money for us to rebuild one road. I mean, it takes a lot of money to build a road, and that's what the argument is on the sales tax revenue, is that we can improve our infrastructure. But I'm not sure of the numbers on 5500 West, but it's a big number, and it's more than $480,000 for sure. And that took forever to get there, so $480,000 a year, maybe we need to wait 5 years before we can build a road. And in the meantime, we've got a grocery store. So I would just like you to remember to support the motto of Hooper City: preserve our past, protect our present, and prepare our future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
My name is Kelly Christensen. I live on 5237 South, 4700 West. And I want everybody to know I'm for this. I mean, Hooper has been great. 90 or greater % of the people who are all in this building right now have their home built on someone's farmland. I'll guarantee it. There's no doubt. Because Hooper used to be one tiny farming community with not very many people. Now, Hooper has 9,639 people as of 2024. The people, or the cities around us, who have less population than us are Riverdale, Plain City, South Weaver, Far West, Harrisville. All these cities have a lower population than Hooper, yet every one of these cities has retail outlets to help them be the city that they are. Of course, we don't want to go out and be a West Haven who has 30,000 people right now, but Hooper has grown, but the city itself needs to grow too. I've been in Hooper for my whole life. I was born one house down from where I live right now. And yes, it's our property. That's the property that's in question here. And I would like it to be, I have some parcels around me that I'm keeping that I would like to have rezoned to have my children build next to me like I built next to my mom and was able to take care of her until she died and be there. That was the greatest thing I could ever do for her. And I hope my kids can do the same thing for me if this happens. Okay, one other thing, and I want the sheriff's office to know how much I appreciate them, and I would buy them lunch every day if they would come patrol that street on 4700 West. People go screaming down that road 40, 50 miles an hour, without question, even batting an eye, and I'll sit there and watch them. They're on their cell phone. I have a 4-year-old who lives right across the street from me, a 2-year-old who lives just north of me. We need something to get our own police department here. I mean, they can only come out one day a week for a few hours, and that's it. You know, people see the truck and they slow down, but as soon as he's gone, it's right back to normal. But I just want to thank them for the service that they give us and know how much it's appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
My reading classes this time. Travis Bates, 5008 West, 4950 South here in Hooper. I think, you know, I grew up in Plain City, and it's funny when we moved there in 1975, all the conversation was about all the new people moving, right? If you look at Plain City now, we can jump right over West Haven. They've got significantly less population than we do, but they've also established a pretty decent retail base. Nothing's really negative happened. They complain about kids in the parking lot after dark. So we have kids on motorcycles, they have kids in the parking lot. So pretty much the same. I think we're used to living at the end of a road in Hooper. We've always been a destination, but we've got a monster coming through our city. It's coming, the West Weaver corridor, right? So we are no longer going to be at the end of the road. One of the off-ramps for that will more than likely be at 5500 South. We have an ability to capture income that we do not have now. Every day when I drive to work, I stop at Maverick, either in Roy or West Haven. I give them a couple $100 a month in fuel, usually some caffeine, some breakfast foods. On my way home, I have to stop at a grocery store outside of our city and give my income to other cities. With the exception of Whittison, where I store my camp trailer, my spend in Hooper City is close to nothing. I think we have an opportunity to capture some money here. I also think we have an opportunity for job creation. We have younger population that do want jobs. It's expensive to drive other places to work. With the retail pad like this and the retail out in front of it, we're talking 250 to 300 pretty decent paying entry-level jobs, which is something we should be able to add to our city. So I know it's big, I know it's scary. We already have precedent for both of these types of developments. The retail pad, not so much, but when you look at the housing immediately to the west is quarter acre already. We also have PUD in our city. So if you look at the patio homes a little bit further west, we have a PUD, and both have been very successful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Woodward, 4926 West, 5350 South. My comment is, about a year and a half ago, a developer come that was prepared to buy that land, and he wanted it to be rezoned into quarter-acre lots. And you guys said, no, it has to be 3/4 acre lots. That's what the general plan said. Okay, that was a year and a half ago. If I was that developer, I'd come and sue Hobler City, because it's discrimination. Why is it one person can do it and another person can't? And also, we've spent all that time and money on the general plan for what? For somebody to come and say, this is what we want to do. And we keep saying there's no apartments. Don't you believe me? You guys do your research. If you look up the commercial, they can build apartments, and if it's more than 5 apartments, it's classed as commercial. So there is 6 lots, plots, whatever they want to call them, they could be apartment buildings, because if it's more than 5 apartments, it's classed as commercial. Thank you. Yeah.
I just have a question for you to write down.
Okay. Could you tell us your name?
Michelle Maradoni.
I know who you are, but just for the record.
5990 West, 50 South. I may be wrong, this might be kind of more of a technical question, but I don't see anywhere in the ordinances where there is a mixed use. So I guess I don't understand how we could rezone, and I'm not saying if I'm for or against it, but I don't know how we can rezone to a zone that we don't have. And so I think that if I'm wrong, and we have one, then great, but if we don't, then I think we need to address that ordinance before we can rezone to a non-existent.
Thank you.
Stacy Judkins, 5560 South, 6300 West. During her campaign, the mayor made several statements to emphasize a commitment to controlled, responsible growth with protection of current residents' rights. Specifically, the mayor expressed opposition to high-density housing and advocated for transparency and community involvement in city decisions. In light of these statements, I'm seeking clarification on the following points. Previous communications and vision for the property. I sent an email to the mayor in May regarding the Smiths development. In response to my email, it was noted that our former mayor, Amanda Prince, and Cindy Cox had discussions with Stuart Adams about potential commercial development on the property at 4700 West and 5500 South. Could you please clarify whether Smiths or a similar large grocer was part of that vision? Or was it a patio homes to follow Affordable Housing Act in the area? Regarding meeting transparency, has the mayor or any city staff, council members, or planning committee members met privately with Stuart Adams? If so, regarding this project, if so, are these meetings open to planning committee members from the affected districts? If a member of the council or committee requests to attend such a meeting, are they permitted to do so? Is there any policy or guideline that governs the inclusion or exclusion of committee members in these discussions? Public participation in decision-making. Stuart Adams has demonstrated little willingness to engage with the public, as evidenced by his refusal to attend recent meetings unless public comments were prohibited. While it is our city, why is our city allowing situations to persist like this? We are deeply invested in the outcomes of these discussions and deserve a more inclusive approach. His interest in our city is to fill his pockets. He will continue to follow the Legacy Highway project and suggest to the cities affected to build more Smiths. This is our city, and we are your neighbors. Financial implications and community impact. Given the potential for significant changes to our community, how will the revenue generated from the Smith store affect our city's budget, particularly concerning establishment of a city police department? We have previously encountered challenges with funding for law enforcement. How will this development address these concerns? Revenue and resource allocation. Can you provide details on the revenue generated from events like Tomato Days? Do we have minimal revenue on and a high amount going out for our city events? Additionally, where are there opportunities for better resource allocation to ensure that the city's financial health and community well-being? Our objective is to ensure that any development in our city reflects our collective values and priorities. We should not alter our recently approved general plan simply to accommodate the preferences of the mayor or Stewart Adams, as all residents have the opportunity to vote on and to support the current general plan, and it is crucial that we uphold the will of the community.
Lamont class, 3905 South, 5500 West. Y'all talk about how we're running out of money or we don't have any money. Well, I'll remind you of a House Bill 406 that specifically dictates my road and a whole lot of other people who live on 5500 South or 5500 West that says you only need 32 feet of asphalt. I'm sure y'all didn't realize that because you were accommodating to the new city that was moving in around our people who have been here for a while. But no, you guys wanted 60-foot roads, which added more cost and more things that have come to change at the cost of the homeowners. You guys sit here and complain about y'all don't have any money, but yet you're willing to spend money you don't have. Now these guys come in, they're like, oh, hey, we see you guys need money. So you guys are seething at it because you guys want to do more things that you can't afford. I'm sorry, you live on Redwood Road? So, oh, okay, well, where do you live? Bountiful. Perfect. You don't live here. But yet you get to come here and you get to tell us what we can and can't do in our city and make offerings of what we want to do. Right? So you get a benefit. You get a benefit. No, you get a benefit off of what other people who don't want to sell or who don't want it here, according to our general plan, and what this fine young lady right here spoke about the Hooper vision. But yet you're going to come up here and you're going to say, hey, you need this because y'all have a goddamn spending problem.
Okay, I'm going to ask you.
I'm sorry, freedom of speech right here, 2-time combat vet, you're welcome, so screw you. Alright? So you're going to come here. So you get to come here and you get to tell us what you want to do and make money off of it.
That's enough.
All right?
That's enough. You're going to behave yourself or you're going to sit down.
No, because I have my 3 minutes and I have freedom of speech, which I fought for in this country. You're welcome. Y'all might want to listen to that. Well, I'm going to go sit back down. Y'all are welcome. Freedom of speech.
Karen Peterson, 4651 West, 5100 South in Hooper. Here we are again. I don't know why, but it seems that Hooper City is sacrificing the citizens on 4700 West to progress. Yes. All of Hooper is available, but between the water tower and Smith's Food King, we seem to have no chance. The zoning on this piece of land should not be changed. The city plan was just put out in 22. People do not want this big mess. The city plan was made so Hooper would have measured and controlled growth to protect the current residents and our rights. This is not measured or controlled. It is one giant big mess right in our laps. This zone change will make high-density housing with a big piece of empty land right in the center that they will eventually make into apartments in the future. We don't need or want that huge shopping center on 4700 West in Hooper. We have stores not very far from us from here, and the traffic is so heavy there, sometimes you can't even get out when people are coming home or going to work. I submitted some papers. I think you'll see it at the end where a lot of people signed that they do not want this. People won't come down here and stand up and speak, but they don't want it. So I went around and got signatures and submitted it to you, all the people that I had a chance to talk to. And they don't want this rezone. They don't want this right there. So I want you to listen to us, help us. You represent us, please stand up for us. This is not good for our city. And one last thing, this property is zoned for agriculture, and it should be left that way.
My name is Brian Murrah, 5397 West, 5100 South. I didn't really plan on getting up here, but it's like the Antifa group. You got activists that'll get up and kind of promote their issue and make like they're the big majority. I personally think we should do the rezone. Now there's people that don't like that, that's okay. When you come up with a general plan, you come up with a general idea of what you want it to look like. Things change. Hell, I mean, our politics, things can happen and in 1 year could be drastically different. Financially, the city's got problems. The prior mayor, just things have cost more. Our sewer system's not working. We need money. We don't have a commercial base. We have a good store. I mean, I don't want a Walmart here. Smith's is not a Walmart. We can actually pick. We can control. So we have Smith's, we get some commercial restaurants in. We have a small planned community. We could probably work it out so if we wanted a senior center and put controls on that development, we could probably limit that and put strong controls so there couldn't be apartments. I don't want us to be a West Haven. But I think you're foolish to think that you can just say, you know what, we're not going to grow anymore. We don't need the money. I think that is a very, let's say, like putting an ostrich, putting your head in the sand. It's a very stupid thing to do. We have expenses. We have a company that's willing to invest in our community. We will benefit from it. And it's controlled, and it's on the edge of our community. It's not like we're going to the center of Hooper and putting a big
Okay, again, we need to let him have his 3 minutes.
We can see that people have different opinions, and that's okay. They can have their opinion, but I'm just saying, they come up here and they say, oh, we've got all these petitions, and other people I don't support their view. I know there's other people that don't support their view. So what I'm saying is, it's like, don't cater into these activists and realize that we have real problems and we can address the problems.
Ryan Ross, 4650 South, 6700 West. I wasn't planning on coming up here either. I'm against it. I moved out to Hooper for the peace and quiet. One thing, I didn't get to see the application for the rezoning, but they don't know how many houses or apartments they're building. They don't know how big our population is going to grow. I know you did an analysis for calls of service. So what I want to know is the difference from before and after that Walmart was built, or not Walmart, the Smiths was built in West Point, for like a 2-mile radius around it, not just for that one application for 1 year. I want to see how it impacts the whole community. And yeah, this is going to bring in a lot of revenue. We do need another grocery store. There's a ton of people here and not a lot of stores. I understand that. Me personally, I want to go local owned. I'd rather go to Kent's. I won't shop at this Smith's. I'm going to go down the road. I'm going to go further. I'm going to go to Kent's. We're going to have to redo the road. That's going to cost us a bunch of money. How long is it going to take the revenue that we get from this Smith's to pay off that? How many years is it going to take to pay for the road and the sewer system and all that before we start profiting from this? And the justification for rezoning, they're saying affordable housing. He just said it's not affordable, it's average. So that, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say that's a lie. It's not technically a lie, but that's, lack of a better word, that's all I can come up with. It's not affordable. I do understand the need for jobs. I've got 2 teenage daughters. We've got 1 car. They've got to share it. They can't drive 20 minutes away for a job.
it would be nice to have something here. We do need more commercial in Hooper. I don't think we need anything this big though. It's a little extreme to me, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Amber Kelso, 5181 South, 5950 West. I basically just wanted to get up and encourage our representatives to make certain that an independent fiscal impact analysis gets done on this project before approval or denial. I think Hooper deserves an independent study and not just the numbers or words provided by those who stand to financially benefit from this development. How can we say if we're truly for or against Smiths and Hooper? We don't have the proper data. The development will undoubtedly benefit the developer and the county, but I would like to see more assurance that it will also be enough of a benefit for Hooper in the long run. I also echo the sentiments that former Commissioner Simpson expressed and don't think it's a good idea to open the general plan to accommodate the higher density housing request. Our city very recently completed a new general plan based off the input from our current citizens, and from what I understand, higher density housing was not wanted. I think we should prioritize and respect the voice of the people on that point. Housing developments do not bring money to the city, only more costs. I would like to see the developer respect our general plan if he is approved for the Smiths.
I'm Bruce Taylor, 4745 West, 5100 South in Hooper. In Hooper's 5-year master plan, it states that we as citizens and as a city want measured growth and controlled growth. Just 2 years ago, you had an investor that wanted to buy this same 40 acres. He was from Syracuse. He said he would pay for the pump station if he could put 1/2 acre lots in all of these 40 acres. He was denied, as he should have been, because this is not what Hooper is about. Hooper, people have the right to sell their land, but when you live in a city, there are laws. It should protect its citizens first and should not be bullied into changing those laws. There is a reason Hooper does not look like West Haven. Hooper does not need to look like all the other cities around us. Most people that have moved down here in the last 10 years moved here because Hooper looked different. There's no monster shopping malls, lots of open fields. There's hay and animals in our fields, not shopping centers. All of us, I promise you, will still have higher bills and expenses next year, whether this happens or not. I think that most people moving here have no problem driving 5 minutes to get what they need. What Stuart Adams is requesting is so large that it will change our uniqueness about us in Hooper. If this is approved, we will open the door for everyone to come down. Hooper will become just like all the other cities around us. Hooper has this stigma that it is really hard and expensive to build here. That is exactly what we want to be known for. Then they have to go build in all the other neighboring cities, the cities they chose not to build in. As soon as this $2 million pump station is built, which Stuart Adams is not paying a penny out of his pocket, and as he said today, he don't know who's paying for it. I know who's paying for it. The people here are paying for it. Not Stuart Adams that's putting in 25 acres of commercial and probably 50 to 60 homes. If this is approved, all of 4,700 will explode with other businesses and homes, as there is 50 additional acres available and up for sale right now on 4,700 West. That means that we'll have an additional 60, 70 homes, or if this is approved, we can do businesses instead of homes on that street. As you know, for the last 4 years, Hooper Water has tried to cram a $6 million water well and treatment facility.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but she's held up the card, I think, so I think we're at the end of the 2 minutes.
Well, everybody's been clapping, so I had to shut up. I have one more page, man. As you know, for the last 4 years, Hooper Water has tried to cram a $6 million water well and treatment facility in our neighborhood. It has been denied every time, exactly as it should have been for the last 4 years. But 2 weeks ago, Corey Green, yes, Corey Green, that once was our mayor, now chairman of the water board, bullied this planning commission to allow this facility to be built. The job of this committee should be to protect its citizens, not to be bullied by big business as we were 2 weeks ago. Now, we have another investor in Stuart Adams, and once again, this committee, I hope, will not be bullied one more time. The day is fast approaching that if this happens, when you will drive down from Roy or over from West Haven, you will know when you're in Hooper. You won't even know when you're in Hooper until you see Hooper Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity I have to speak. My name is Mark Allen. I hate to say it, but I'm not a resident of Hooper, but I do have 2 daughters that live here with 5 of my grandsons, and so they've asked me to come and help. And that's all I want to do is help. By the way, I live at 170 West, 5600 South in Washington Terrace, and I'm the mayor of Washington Terrace. So I'm here to kind of help you see what's going on. God bless my founding fathers in Washington Terrace, the way they planned our city. Let me tell you a little bit about it. We're 2 square miles, about 9,400 people, the same as you. We have 2 elementary schools, we have a junior high school, and we have a high school. We have Ogden Regional Medical Center, a great hospital. We have a Weaver County Library, great library. We have several churches, as we all do. And then around the hospital, we have several medical facilities. We have several professional offices. And we have a couple of convenience stores. So if you look at sales tax, 0. Pretty much 0 sales tax. But we can go to Riverdale.
Sales tax or property tax? Sales tax?
Sales tax. Yeah, none of those people pay sales tax. Don't ask me questions, it takes away from my time.
Okay, sorry.
No. Madam Chair, at your meeting, you can do whatever you want. I understand. So I live in a great community. It's a bedroom community, and I love it, absolutely love it. But if I want to buy stuff or groceries, I have to drive out of my city to buy stuff or groceries, usually to Riverdale. And who else goes to Riverdale to buy stuff and groceries? It's people from South Ogden, the East Bench, Uinta. And how do they get there? They drive through my city. And you know what? They don't even stop. So it doesn't help me to not have any business. But I'm landlocked. We're done. Our building is done. Let me tell you, gentleman right there in the green shirt, he said it. You're going to have UDOT build a West Davis corridor, and it's going to end right up less than a mile from this project. And UDOT is going to force those people to stop right there and get off the road and come drive through your city. If they're going to drive through your city anyway, be forced to drive through, put a great little shopping community right there so they'll spend money at it. And that road's going to have several thousand cars a day on there. You're not going to be able to do anything about it because that corridor is coming. Corridor is coming from 193 to 1800 north in about 2 years, and I know they'll push it right to the right west. Gives you a great opportunity to pick up some of that money from everybody else. And it'll be easy. Yeah, you can drive 5 minutes and spend money somewhere else, but why not spend it in your own community? And keep your sales tax dollars right here. But what a great opportunity, I feel. Great opportunity for a growing community, growing city. If you ever have any questions, give me a call. I'm on the website. I'd be more than happy to help. But I want my family, I want my daughters and their families to live in a great community. And this is a great community. Spend a lot of time out here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Monte Dixon, 4950 South, 5600 West. Stuart Adams, you told us the first time you came to our meeting to tell you if we wanted this or not, and we didn't want it then, and we don't want it now. This proposal promises things that are not for sure, like money, lower taxes, green space, and public areas, but then leaves that up to other developers to work out after you've got your money. My main points are this. The general plan took years to put into place. Lots of input and ideas were presented, and as a town it was decided that the land there was to be used as large lot residential. And now just because someone waves money at our town, we all need to change? No thank you. The amount of support and infrastructure needed to make this thing work does not outweigh the benefits, period. Water, sewer, road repairs, excess traffic, light pollution, environmental impacts, etc. are not worth it. Many of the people who are directly impacted, or the ones who are current property owners that led up to this monstrosity, do not want this. Follow the big money. Who really stands to make money on this? It's not the people who live here, it's not the Hooper City government, it's the developers. The same people who asked you to vote and told you they cared about you, your well-being in your town. Stuart Adams, you're a sellout. And so are those of you who are willing to sell out to this big corporation. We have 7 grocery stores within a 5-mile radius of the spot you want to build this one. We have Roy Harmon's, we have 2 Smiths, one in Sunset and one in Syracuse. We have Winco, Kent's, Weininger's, Walmart, and others already approved Walmart in the neighboring town of West Haven. We don't need another grocery store. We don't need another gas station. This opening of the general plan is a very slippery slope. The general plan was made years ago and after lots of input by the citizens, and if this is something we so desperately needed, we should put it to a proposal on the next ballot. Again, you told us the first time you came here to tell you if we wanted it or not. We told you then, and we are telling you now as citizens, we do not want it.
Tracy Wallace, 4718 West, 5100 South. It's down at the end of my block. Can you hear me? I have that right. So I have some questions. Do sewer and stormwater drains need to be in place to get the building permit? That was a question because many people have tried to get building permits for their 1-acre lots with septic as what is accepted now there, and they are being denied. They're being denied, they're being told and held hostage to pay for sewer that is not there. Some person close to us has paid for sewer that does not exist. And that sounds illegal. You are selling something that is not there. And nobody wants it. Nobody wants to pay for it. They don't want to pay for it. We that live there, we don't want to pay for it. We don't want to pay for the hookup. We already know that thing is too expensive. So if those developers make all the money, they should be paying all that stuff. And I would love to see Hooper City increase those building permits drastically, just like they did in Morgan, to curb any overdevelopment. And they say growth, you grow if you build houses. If you don't build houses, you don't grow. And you have an affordable budget. And they told us, all of us, that 30-something years ago when we became a city. And I don't know how that got forgotten because that was an in-depth packet of how much we could make to survive without being annexed. Someone should dig that up. And the other one was how much does it cost for each taxpayer of Hooper when we have to hire and build a police department? Because when your crime rates and your population rates go up, it is a law that you have to have a police department, not a sheriff's. West Haven is currently at that juncture. And I have heard that they are being told that they need a police department for crime rates. We will never have that kind of money, not on our tax base. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Blake Maradoni, 5990 West, 5350 South. Let's have two quick, this will be pretty quick, I didn't write it down or anything. My main concerns with this, whether for or against, once we rezone, we lose all control as a city of what happens here. As long as the development or whatever is legal in that zone, we more or less have to approve it. So, with that being said, I don't think that their plan is very solid. We've seen a drawing, but we've got a lot of we don't know out of the developer and Stewart. So, and then we'll leave it up to other people. But that's a big thing. When we rezone, we no longer have a say. If something is legal in that zone, it goes. So, just wanted that to be kind of a big thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Max Simpson. I live at 4530 South, 5900 West, just over there. And to begin with, I'm against having changing our plan. A lot of time and effort. I think Mary said it really well. A lot of time and effort was put into putting our master plan together. And when you start changing it, things start to tumble along, and you're just going to cause more confusion. There's one thing I'm concerned about. I think we're doing quite well in our community. We've done quite well for the last few years. I worry about our thinking that we can get more money by having more business. I worry about that attitude. I don't think you'll ever have enough money. All of these communities that have had Smiths, my wife and I were driving in Kaysville the other day, and their roads were worse than ours. But they have a nice Smith's Food King. But you never, and I think what happens is when you have these kinds of things come in, it's going to cost us more money. And every time something like that happens, there's going to be more money involved. And I think cities make a mistake when they chase the dollar. And I think that we need to start thinking about living within our means. We're doing quite well.
Jake Kelso, 5181 South, 5950 West. The concern I have with this is once you approve, say you approve this rezone, how are you going to tell the next person no? You're not going to be able to. So that just opens the door to everyone that comes up here asking for a rezone. My other concern is the same with Amber, the financial analysis. That needs to be done because $11 million sounds like a lot, but the roads and the pump station, over 20 years, we're going to be fixing those things. And that's the type of analysis we need, is to look at that. they say they're not building apartments, but multi-site building sites like townhomes and duplexes, those become apartments if you're being realistic. People buy them and then they rent them. Just look around. My son lives in one, it's an apartment. Someone else owns it and rents it to him. Thanks.
Suzanne Sterland, 5025 South, 4700 West. We bought our home 2 years ago and looked at the current plan, and that's why we bought the home, because we were in agreement with that. I feel like we decided to invest in something because we knew what was going to happen around it, and I'm sure that's the case for other homeowners on that same road and in the same area. And really throughout Hooper too, I agree with everyone else that I feel like if we open the plan and we make changes, the floodgates are opened. And just on 4700 alone, like it has been said, there's a lot of potential building, which we were okay with the current plan. But I feel like if we allow all the changes to this developer for this plan, then how can we say no when the other developers come in and want to make those changes? I voted for our mayor because she said she would be careful with building and take care of Hooper, and so I would like the commission to continue with that. I know that we can't just not build. I understand that. There's going to be building, there's going to be things that will be built in Hooper, but let's do it smartly and let's do it on our own terms and not be pushed around by developers. I'm very concerned about road impacts, the sewer, the water runoff. We are actually on septic right now, and we're totally fine to be on septic. We don't need sewer. We don't want sewer. It's such a big cost to us. We don't, if that's what we're going to be pushed to do, then I would love for us to have help with that. And that's not something, there's so many people that can't afford that on 4700 and the surrounding areas. And I'm also concerned that will one pump house be enough? Because it may help with Smith's, but will it help with all the houses being built? Because we're already overflowing. And then for everything else in this area, will it be enough? People are being turned down for building even pole barns and different things on their property because they just want one bathroom in it. And we're current residents. So we would like to protect the citizens and please build wisely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis Blanchard, 5362 South, 4700 West. Thank you for your patience, for trying to herd a bunch of cats. Because everybody has their own opinion, which they're entitled to. But I think what we forget is that the future is coming towards us. How are we going to take and handle it? The general plan is the best guess for the future. How are we going to handle the future? Yes, we have limited water, limited sewer. How are we going to handle it? We must be able to handle it very best way that we possibly can. Won't be the best thing for everybody, but it's the best thing that we can take and do. I thank you for your time and your effort and your patience. And God bless America. Thank you.
quicker, so I had to write mine down.
Sarah, can you pull that mic down just a little bit? Sorry.
It's Sarah Fielding, 4825 West, 5500 South. I will be right across the street for the lights to go right into my house as they come out of Smith's. Great, 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 great. 4 greats generations are necessary to help me describe me and my husband's ancestors that helped make Hooper a farming community we love. Maybe it's the young cowgirl in me who rode her horse to posse and 4-H twice a week or to school on the last day at Hooper Elementary. Or perhaps the small town country charm I'm clinging to with white knuckle determination. But I firmly believe that Smith's Marketplace does not belong across the street from my home in Hooper. I want to express my strong opposition to the proposed commercial development in our neighborhood. While I understand the need for tax base in our ever-growing community, I believe that this project would have a detrimental impact on our community. First and foremost, the proposed development is simply too large for our area. The increase in population density it will put a strain on our already overburdened infrastructure, leading to increased traffic congestion, noise pollution, air pollution, and strain on our public services. The type of development being proposed is simply not in keeping with the character of our neighborhood or our plan. Hooper City has been known to be a rural area. Many of the people who reside in Hooper now have been here for generations. It will alter the aesthetic of our area, which is and has been for many years family-owned farmland and country homes. Those that live directly across from this proposed development will no longer be able to look out their window and enjoy the view of green hayfields. I do not believe any resident of Hooper City is opposed to driving 5 to 10 minutes to reach Walmart, Weininger's, Winco, Kent's, Smith's in Sunset, Smith's in West Point. Some native residents of Hooper feel they are being pushed out because they do not have money or the connections. In conclusion, I strongly urge the council members or whoever decides this to reconsider this proposed development.
Katie Parkinson at 4839 West, 5100 South in Hooper. Not exactly having a lot of confidence in this board anymore after what we went through a couple of weeks ago. You're not going to have to live through it, but we are. It seems like you're picking on this area, and I wish we didn't have people, developers coming in that I know they have a lot of money and it's enticing, but it's not going to work how you want it. The infrastructure is just going to get hit on, not paid for. It's going to be more used, and you're going to have to build bigger roads. Those 2-lane roads are pretty cheap compared to what you're going to end up having to build to support this. I'd like to see our zoning stay the same. You said it. There was a purpose for that. Yes, we're going to grow and it can't be in stone, but there's a reason that you put it there and a reason you need to keep it as close to that. And the homes there are probably what bothers me the most. Not the Smith's Marketplace so much as those homes that will be directly behind us that don't suit the homes around it because I'm on a 3-acre lot. It'll probably get dried up from the well that you're going to let them build anyway. My pastures won't be green anymore, but I still prefer to have my privacy. At least if you're going to let this happen, let them put a big, nice fence up between us where our horses and stinky animals are, so I don't have to listen to them complain because the manure stinks. And I think it's kind of hypocritical right now to be selling shirts at the next Hooper Days that say, "Take me home, country roads," when you're changing all of our country roads. We're going to have exactly the opposite of that. property, but I know I wouldn't get that much money for my acreage unless somebody, a developer with a lot of money, could come in and give me some money for that. We need to look in the future if this goes through that. Maybe we all want to change our rezoning in that area so we can sell to a nice big person that might come in and make it worth our while to move out to a better place and further away and on some country road. This is our preferred way of life, is not having, and the crime is going to go up. I know somebody that worked for Weber County attorneys, and I know what happens, especially when you get this condensed housing and stuff. There's problems. I did have some questions, like the sewer system, how will that work? If it isn't there already and they can't afford to put it in, then this shouldn't even be considered. I mean, that should come with them if they want to put a Smith's there. And I would like to ask not to make a decision. There may be some others of us that want to change our zoning areas also in that area so that we can make some money off our property too. Consider it.
Hello, Planning Commission. My name is Dylan Robinson. I live at 3223 South, 5100 West here in Hooper. I am for the Smiths, but against the current plan. I do not feel that it fits the general plan that they tried to infer that it did. They were trying to say that like it fits the general plan, but they're also saying that it needs to open the general plan, which would directly go against that, in my opinion. I would like to see them do all of the housing in R2 so that it could more easily fit our community. And don't see what the difference of, I mean, I don't know how many houses are planned for the R4 PUD section, but I don't realistically think 50 or even 100 houses would make a bottom line difference to a Smith's of that size. So that's essentially what I have to say. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Hi, I'm Connie Collard. I live at 4858 West, 5500 South. One of the property owners, there's 7 of us, and I just want to clear just a few things up, and then I have some questions as well. But you know, this was a major hard decision for our family. We're like 5th generation Hooper people. That land means the world to me. It meant the world to my mom and dad. We worked our butts off, my brothers and sisters, on that farm our whole life. I know this is, it's not ideal, and like Sarah, my heart just breaks because I understand. I understand the impact that that's going to be in Blaine. My stepbrother, who the gas station's going to be in front of their house, I understand that, and my heart hurts that it's going to change, but times change too. One of the things that I don't understand, that I'm hoping to understand, is there's a subdivision on the west side of us that's on 30-acre lots. There's a subdivision to the east of us, a block, past 4700, that's very small lots, and we're right in the middle of this. So I don't understand how those got approved, I would like to know that someday. But another thing I want to say, Stuart's been under attack here, and one of the reasons we picked him is because he's a stand-up guy, and he's not going to, I trusted him. He didn't have to meet with anybody
but he wanted to get your guys's, he wanted to hear your concerns. He truly cares. And that was the reason we picked him, and I don't think it's fair that his name gets thrown through the mud like that. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And I really appreciate you guys. I don't know what you're gonna decide, but I'm still gonna love you, and I'm still gonna love everybody else here. So.
I'm Ray Christensen, 5315 South, 4700 West. I am for this outfit to do this, and I just want to make a comment that when people say this is in my backyard, if you look at that white house, right behind the Smith store to the right, that's my house. It is in my backyard. But I just want this to be known that we've had sewer put in since the road was widened 5 years ago, I think, and it still don't work. A lot of us paid for that. Some of us haven't yet, but I would like to see this go through. And if I can voice my opinion, I'd really like a culvert. Thank
Any other public comments before we bring it back to the commission for discussion?
Keith Blazer, 5747 West, 4350 South. I've only lived here 20 years-ish, close, 19 maybe. The lady in the blue that just spoke, that's your property? That's our family's. Okay. In my opinion, she should be able to do whatever they want with it. It's hers, it's her family's, and there are so many. I grew up in New Jersey. I didn't grow up here. The town I grew up in was a big farming community that came in, and all the farmers sold out because mom and dad got old. Kids didn't want the land, and kids sold off the land, which is exactly what's going to happen in Hooper. No matter what anybody thinks, anybody comments, mom and dad get old. They have 4 or 5 kids. 4 or 5 kids become something other than a farmer because mom and dad made them farm when they were kids, and so they don't like it anymore. And so they sell off the land when mom and dad dies or grandma and grandpa dies. And we're getting a freeway 4 blocks from that. And it's coming in whether anybody here says anything, wants anything, comments about anything, no matter what we say or do, it's getting put in. I made a comment on the Watchdog page that it's going to happen, in my opinion, before the Olympics, that it's going to be sitting on 5,500. Olympics are coming, modernization's coming, it's all going to be here. They approved the inland port on 12th Street. How do you think people are going to get to the inland port? They're going to take that freeway right through Hooper, right through West Haven, right through, maybe not West Haven, but every Taylor little town between here and 12th Street, they're going to come through that. They're going to drive through that. They're going to stop at the exits. They're going to get off. 60 seconds. Okay, that's fine. I can hop on the West Davis corridor now from my house and be in Salt Lake in like 30 minutes. Every house out here is going to have that opportunity to be in Salt Lake in 30 minutes or 40 minutes without going all the way to the traffic up on I-15. Change is coming. I think that we should plan for that change, and we should make the plans for that change. When the Hooper City Plan was originally done in 2019, I don't know if we knew that the West Davis corridor was coming in that fast. Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, so, yeah, it's coming, whether we like it or not, it's coming. So let the people do what they want to do with their land.
Okay, I am going to bring it back to the commission unless there's anybody else that I have missed, so that we can have a discussion. Not have this go too late. My hand is ready to fall off. Right? So, okay, bring it back here so that we can discuss. I did try to write down the questions. I know you were writing too, probably better than I was since you have technology. Before we do that, I do need to read these citizen comments that were turned in. They're at the back of the little stack that I gave you guys. Okay, the letter that I'm going to read now is attached to a petition. There were 63 total signatures on this petition as well. It reads, preserve Hooper's unique charm, keep big box stores out, Smiths, etc. We, the undersigned, stand together to preserve the distinct character of our beloved community of Hooper. As residents who cherish the small town atmosphere, tight-knit bonds, and local businesses that define our area, we oppose the introduction of big box stores, Smiths, etc. into our neighborhood. Hooper's charm lies in its quaint streets, family-owned shops, and community-centered ethos. Introducing big box stores threatens to disrupt this delicate balance, endangering the livelihood of local businesses, eroding our sense of community, and irreversibly altering the landscape of our town. The arrival of large-scale retailers brings with it a myriad of issues. Loss of local businesses, big box stores, Smith, etc., often undercut prices, drawing customers away from locally owned establishments. This can lead to the closure of beloved shops that have been serving our community for generations. Number 2, traffic congestion. The influx of customers to big box stores, Smiths, etc., will inevitably increase traffic congestion on our roads, impacting both residents and commuters passing through our town. Number 3, environmental impact. Large-scale developments often require extensive construction and generate increased traffic, contributing to pollution and placing strain on our local environment. Number 4, urban sprawl. The introduction of big box stores, Smiths, etc. can pave the way for further development, leading to unchecked urban sprawl and encroachment on green spaces and agricultural land. And number 5, community fragmentation. Hooper thrives on its sense of community and neighborly spirit. Big box stores, Smiths, etc. can disrupt this cohesion by drawing people away from local gatherings and events to centralized shopping hubs. We believe that the best way to support our community and ensure its long-term prosperity is by investing in locally owned businesses, fostering a sense of belonging and preserving our unique identity. By signing this petition, we call on local authorities and decision makers to reject proposals for big box developments in Hooper, and instead focus on initiatives that support local entrepreneurship, enhance community spaces, and celebrate our town's distinctive character. Together, let's protect Hooper's legacy for future generations to enjoy. Next comment was sent in by Patrick Grieco. He says, after the city council meeting last week, I do not think the need for an independent economic analysis could be overstated. We need one, a complete one. Number 2, I expect county folks will offer programs as the solution to financial impacts, or even as bait to fix infrastructure. The thing I would say is, irrespective of an economic analysis, I believe Riverdale had various programs designed to do the same. Their development and programs have resulted in one of the most densely developed commercial areas in the county. If the programs and proceeds from taxes do what we are told, Riverdale should be tax-free. They have some of the worst impacts to citizens in the form of taxes and growth of government. And now they are closing their fire station. Excuse me. Retail development is a financial and quality of life boat anchor. My takeaway is, if Hooper folks want a Smith's for the convenience, okay, but I do not think it should be advertised as revenue positive or a benefit to taxpayers in any way. Number 3, I don't buy urgency for commercial development to rescue us. We just hired 2 new people to positions I hadn't been aware we had. How poor could we be? Number 4, I'm dubious regarding this concept of engaging in development and programs to enable infrastructure improvements. Feels a lot like handing me bricks now with a picture of a lifeboat I'll get later. If there are programs we could seek to prepare infrastructure for development without a commitment to a given project, great. The next comment is from Jenny Stinger. I will not be able to attend the meeting on Thursday, or I will not be able to be at the meeting on Thursday. I wanted to voice my opinion towards the Smith's development project. I totally support this project and the mixed housing development that it is part of, or that is part of it, excuse me. Townhomes and patio homes would be a great option, and if they can be built to be a little more affordable, that is even more appealing to fulfill the state requirements. Landowners have a right to sell their land, and unfortunately this puts the Planning Commission in a position where you have to make the hard decision to allow growth. It appears this project also would provide for development of the land that has been approved for a subdivision or 2, but has been on hold due to not having sewer. I feel bad for the landowners in that area, especially now after where the housing market has gone. Their ability to develop their property will be harder for them due to the interest and rising costs of supplies and labor. Listening to the county representatives in prior meetings, it sounds like we would be foolish to turn down a project like this. I am looking forward to the time that my sales tax money will go to the city where I live and not neighboring cities that I have to currently travel to in order to grocery shop. Thanks for all you do. And the last citizen message, this is from Marsha Warwood. I just wanted to start out by telling you how much I appreciate all the work you and the other members of the Planning Commission do to serve the citizens of Hooper. I'm not against some sort of development here. It just needs to be something that fits into our community. Something that would be financially beneficial, not a drain on our already strained financial situation. I do have several questions and concerns about this development. Is the developer going to be required to build a pump station like other developers have had to in the past? Is the city planning on giving the developer a free pass on their taxes for up to 10 years so they can recoup the money they will have to spend on the pump station? If so, doesn't that leave Hooper paying for infrastructure, police, etc. with no income? Where will the exits be for the new highway? If we don't have an exit by this new development, that will lessen the amount of people actually coming to shop there. A lot of people aren't going to get off at 1800 North or 4000 West just to go to Smith's. Legacy Highway won't be here for many years, and I think counting on it to bring us business is counting our chickens before they hatch. On the plans it says high-density housing, not apartments. If the developer sells the section of the property that would be zoned R4 for high-density housing, does the city have any say in what kind of housing will go there? Does the city have any kind of guarantee that will really be the case? I've heard that this company did something like this in Kaysville. They developed the property zoned commercial and then sold the property zoned for high-density housing. One of my biggest concerns is, do we have the infrastructure to support that kind of high-density housing? And if not, what will be the cost to the city to develop that infrastructure? That's the end of the citizen comments, unless any of you received any others that I wasn't aware of. Okay, you guys have thoughts? I have some, but I wonder what you have to say. Okay. Sorry.
What are questions that were asked?
Yeah.
Answers that might be good to start.
Sure. So Mary Simpson mentioned how much did that little section of 5500 West cost that we made the improvements on. Anybody know that? Yeah, I was pretty sure it was in the millions, and I don't know if anybody here can answer that. We'll do the best we can to answer these questions. Some of them were comments, and so I'm just trying to skip through the ones I marked. Let me know if I missed anything. Michelle Maragoni, where there is mixed use.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Tracy Woodward talked about.
Sheldon, we can't hear you, buddy.
Tracy Woodward talked about more than 5 apartments classified as commercial. I'm not aware of that being.
I did look that up a little bit, and as far as like a real estate transaction, I do know that is valid.
For real estate, but not for zoning for city.
I don't know for zoning, but I know like when you go to the bank to buy something that is classified as commercial, but I don't know for zoning.
And that makes sense.
I tried to look it up, but I couldn't.
So, to my understanding, this being rezoned to commercial would not allow them to build apartments on the commercial portion of the zone.
Reed, are you aware of anything as far as that goes, or is that out of your?
Well, I think the condition for a rezone is going to be that they build the project they're projecting, that would not be.
And we could list those as conditions. Then Michelle Margot is next.
Okay. Nowhere in the ordinance could she find where there is mixed use. How can we rezone to a zone that we don't have? So, this is part of the thing I was going to bring up. My papers. Okay, so commissioners, in the packet that I give you, I printed out just a few pages from our general plan. In there, it shows that if you look under the definition for an R4 zone and a residential PUD zone, I'll just briefly read those definitions. The R4 zone, which the quarter-acre lots would fall under, it says provides opportunities for higher density residential development where the predominant character of land use is detached single-family dwellings and the minimum lot size is 10,000 square feet. Yeah, quarter acre. What did I say?
10,000 square feet, but that doesn't.
Oh, okay. Okay. So new properties can apply for this zone only if they directly abut or adjoin an existing R4 property. A limited number of duplexes and twin homes are permitted as well. And then it states that this is in use currently, but it is no longer in our code. So I don't know that we could even rezone to something if it's no longer in our code. Not to mention, this area does not currently abut up to quarter-acre lots.
And I think, and sorry, I can't remember, but you mentioned that you guys would be willing to change that to R3 to match.
As far as the residential PUD zone, provides opportunities for a variety of dwelling units that allows imaginative concepts of neighborhoods and housing options and provides variety in the physical development pattern of the city. The residential PUD zone has a base density of 6 dwelling units per acre, and then it states that it's not in use. So within that PUD, I believe where it says it has a base zone of 6 units per acre, that's something that would accommodate if they decided to do patio homes as well as townhomes or something like that, as far as what the definition is in our code. Am I understanding
There's a
that?
patio zone as well, as I recall.
There is, but the patio zone said that it was not, it's in your packets, no longer in use or something like that, I think is what it was.
It's in the code, so you'd have to put it back in use. I think you've already built some patio homes.
We have built some patio homes. It says in use, no longer in code. So that's what in our general plan, it's on page 24 of the packet that I gave you. So that's something else that would probably need to be addressed where that is no longer in our code. Hopefully that answers.
And I don't know, the way that I took her question, I could be misinterpreted what she asked is that this is actually rezoned to 4 different zones, not one zone of mixed use. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's not going to be a mixed zone. That's like a general term, but the specific is going to be 4, or technically with the commercial would be 5 different zones.
Any other discussion on that before we move on to the next question? Okay. Stacey Judkins asked for clarification on previous communication discussions with potential commercial development. She noted meeting that took place between the previous mayor, myself, and Cindy Cox last year, Mr. Adams came into the city. My thoughts were he was trying to test the waters on whether or not this could be something that would be doable in the city. At that time, he was not able to disclose to us much information. He said that, you know, the store that he was representing would not allow that information to be disclosed. So there was no way that we could have given any kind of nod for approval or anything like that, because it was really just a very, very preliminary.
These things are called concept meetings.
It wasn't even a concept meeting. There was no application, there was no.
Yeah, you still have applications.
Yeah, it was just like,
But
he
stuff
came in.
like this happens in the city all the time. It's not out of the ordinary for the developer to come in and just
Right.
have a discussion. Typically, they like to have those discussions with someone from the planning commission and someone from city council. That's exactly what.
As long as you don't have a quorum of those bodies,
Yeah,
it's not public meeting.
we did not have a quorum, there were no decisions made. There was some questions about a possible development that he was interested in, but like I said, we really didn't have a lot of information to go off of. Patio homes were mentioned as a possibility. I remember asking whether or not that would help to satisfy our affordable income requirements that have been imposed on us by the legislature, because the current retirement homes we have are not affordable. And so that was basically what happened. There was never anything that resulted from that meeting. As far as other private meetings, and this is something that probably is a delicate subject, but I feel like it does need to be addressed. I've had a couple of different residents ask me about this. It was brought to my attention that in the past week and a half, there were some meetings over the phone that were set up with members of the commission or members of the council along with the developer so that they could discuss this. And that is a concern to me. I am concerned because I'm not quite sure why we would need to have a private meeting for something that was already on a public hearing, and why those discussions could not take place in a public forum. I have looked up in our code, this is 1-1-5, ordinance 1-1-5, item D, under treatment of information in our rules of ethical conduct. It says, information on public affairs that is obtained in the course of performing council duties must be treated in confidence. Private affairs become public affairs when an official action, which is defined as any decision on or proposal, consideration, enactment, defeat, or making of any rule, regulation, rate-making proceeding, or policy action or non-action by a governmental body or any other policy matter which is within the official jurisdiction of the governmental body is implemented on such an item. Only at this time is a disclosure of relevant information proper. Prearranged private meetings between a city council member and applicants, their agents, or other interested parties are prohibited. Relevant information on any application received by a city council member should be made part of the public record. I believe that this law serves as a protection for public officials as well as applicants. When these meetings are conducted publicly, there is no room for accusations of misconduct, and public trust is fostered and preserved. I am concerned about why these private meetings were necessary. As I mentioned, when the proposed development was already scheduled for a public hearing that was happening later the same week. I'm not sure what would need to be discussed privately that could not be discussed in a public meeting. I'm not sure what all members participated in this. I was only made aware of it by the ones that I talked to. They said they were asked to participate and they had concerns about it. And I am concerned that the integrity of this decision could be compromised by something like this. I would hope that anyone who participated in these private meetings would openly share what was discussed, possibly asked for and or agreed upon, so that everyone feels they are on the same page and that there is a transparent process followed when the decision is made.
I did feel all it was for me was I had never talked to Stuart, and so for me it was a fact finding to understand what he was proposing, so that if I had any questions, I could ask him, which I did ask. I asked what the PUD was because I didn't understand. So I did go to one, but like I said, it was a fact finding mission because I had never had the chance to talk to him. The time he was here, I was somewhere else.
Trying to go through the other questions.
the property is zoned agricultural and it should be left that way. It's technically currently zoned, I believe, R1, which is a 1 acre lot. If they wanted to come in there and build that out as 1 acre, they could do that without coming in for a type of rezone. I believe currently the future land use map would allow it to be rezoned to 3/4 acre lots.
Correct. Let's see. There was a question also from Stacy Jenkins, how will the budget be affected? We've addressed that. I think we would need to have a fiscal impact analysis or something like that in order to give us information on that. Let's see. Also, in regards to the budget and city events, is there a better resource, a better way to allocate what we're doing with our resources? She mentioned tomato days, and that's, again, that's something that I know our budget is public. We should be able to look at that and see. But those are questions like when we did I have copies of the surveys that we, the ones that we did when we did the general plan, as well as the ones that were most recently sent out. And okay, just to let you know, so one of the questions was, do you agree or disagree that Hooper needs additional tax base to fund future improvements and or maintenance? 69.7% of the residents that took the survey said yes, we do need an additional tax base. 62.4% said they would like to see eating establishments in Hooper. When asked to please rank in order 1 to 4, with 1 being most supportive and 4 being least supportive, the ways in which you would support funding city improvements, the majority of people said eliminating unnecessary spending and operating within the city budget. That was followed by small shops, restaurants, and cafes in Hooper, followed by stores such as Smith's Marketplace, and then the last was to increase property taxes. Are the road conditions in Hooper satisfactory? 45.6% said yes, 38.5% said no. Please select which best reflects your opinion. 37.4% are opposed to commercial development that includes stores like Smith's Marketplace and or chain retailers. 31.6% would like to see the city approve development of stores like Smith's Marketplace and or chain retailers. And then there was some others that were negligible. Either they support all commercial or they don't support any commercial. Please select which one best applies to you. 81% are opposed to opening the recently approved general plan to accommodate higher density housing and what is currently designated on the future land use map. 19% are in favor of opening the recently approved general plan to approve higher density housing than what is currently approved. What's your next question? I have Brian Russell, so the others were no comments.
There was one about community crime, about how it impacts the community crime around it.
Okay, and I think that's the one Brian Russell that I have. So he wants to know the statistics, the difference before and after the Smiths was built as far as the crime statistics. I don't know if that's something that is possible to get, but.
I should be able to work on that paperwork.
Okay.
He also asked, how long will it take to pay for itself? I'm assuming he means
We can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear.
he said that he asked how long it will take to pay for itself. I'm assuming by that he meant the infrastructure costing, and that's what we had talked to you. We had talked about the
The fiscal impact analysis.
well the
CRA.
Oh, CRA, sorry, I'm not sure where you're going.
the CRA as far as the county basically giving back or giving up some of the property tax base that it would hit. And usually those take, what, 10 years? Is that kind of what you see, Stephanie?
County has a policy of 15,
15 years.
up to 15. It's how, there's a negotiation that happens.
Stephanie, does the county, does your group do a financial analysis and they put that together using?
When you do, yeah, when you apply for a CRA, you have to put together a financial analysis of the project and how
Well,
the funds.
can the county do that? That's what
We don't do that.
So you have to find somebody else.
Rob Sant, who presented last week at your city council meeting, that's what he does. And he works for a lot of the cities in the county, does that.
So he does analysis of the project to tell you what the cost will be.
As it relates to a community reinvestment area.
What if it's not?
He doesn't do fiscal impact analysis.
Only if it's going to be a
CRA.
CRA.
Tracy Wallace asked, does sewer and storm water drains need to be in place to get the building permit? I would say yes, that we would need to have that in place before they would issue any building permits.
Yeah, I mean, that's the order is typically, land rezone, infrastructure built in, and then building permits.
And then how much does it cost for each taxpayer when we need to get our own police department? Again, that's something that we would have to look into, a fiscal impact analysis or something like that, right?
Yeah, I think that analysis is undertaken every year as each of the cities that are part of the contract with the sheriff's office look at that issue. And so far, I don't think we've had any cities leave that group. And the requirement is that you have a police department. It can be the sheriff. It doesn't have to be an independent police department. But the majority of the cities in the county use the sheriff.
And then one question that I wrote down during Suzanne Sterling's was, will homes in the area be required to hook into the sewer if this goes in? And will they have to pay for that? So I'm just, the existing homes that are already there,
Certainly new homes would have.
they would be required to pay what it would cost to hook into the system.
And if sewer is available within a certain distance, and I don't recall what that is, it's not that, it's not a city requirement, it's the health department's requirement.
So, not just if they want to hook in, but they would be required to hook
If they're
in.
within a certain
If
distance.
they're within a certain distance. Okay. Okay, so as of a couple of months ago, our general plan has been in place for 2 years. The general plan was a result of an extensive cooperative effort among residents, city staff, city council, and the planning commission. Those involved in establishing it worked very hard to listen to what residents wanted for our city, now and in the future, and to put those goals and that vision into effect. On page 7 of our general plan, under applying the plan, it states, all future land use and transportation decisions must be made after consulting and citing a reference from this general plan, unless inapplicable. In the case of a decision where there is no applicable general plan language, the city must determine that the decision is not in conflict with the general plan goals. With that in mind, I would like to reference a few excerpts from our general plan. The current land use map does not have any C2 designations. While the future land use map does have a commercial area designated, at least in the south portion of this proposed property, I am not certain that the request for a C2 designation is in harmony with the sentiments expressed by the community and the expectations put in place by the Commission and Council during the recent general plan revision. On page 24 of the packet that I gave to you, that has the printouts from the general plan, you'll find the definition of a C1 zone and a C2 zone, which read, C1, neighborhood commercial. Establish commercial areas near residential areas that provide for the sale of limited merchandise and services required by the population primarily living within the immediate area. Community commercial, C2. Establish areas for community shopping and clustered commercial activities along arterial streets that provide for the sale of a full range
of merchandise and services required of persons living within several neighborhood service areas, as well as a rural trade area, not in use. If you look at the bottom of page 40 in the packet I gave you, as you follow along, consider whether a C1 or C2 zone designation aligns most closely with the goals of the general plan, which were put in place based off of community feedback and input, and which designation C1 or C2 aligns most closely with this proposed development. Now reading from the general plan. Residents expressed desire for some limited commercial development, but believe it should not take away from the overall feeling of Hooper. The focus group indicated an interest in a small main street that is quaint and nostalgic but updated. This idea was supported by Survey 1, in which either additional shopping or places to eat in Hooper comprised 52% of responses. In Survey 2, residents chose locally owned shops, cafes, and restaurants as the most preferred way to support funding city improvements. And then continuing on to page 42 under future commercial uses. The future commercial center of Hooper has long been envisioned at the intersection of 5500 South and 5500 West, as indicated in the future land use map. Historically, this area was home to a local burger joint, along with other neighborhood favorites. A revitalization of this area is planned to be a small center with neighborhood amenities, rather than major commercial that serves a larger area than Hooper. A preference for unique, locally owned businesses has been voiced. The area should be walkable with plenty of pedestrian amenities, namely sidewalks. Pedestrian amenities could also include street lamps, pedestrian-oriented signs, greening on the street such as trees or planters, and seating options such as benches. Safety improvements would likely need to be made in this intersection and on 5500 South to accommodate pedestrians. The commercial area should have a sense of place and may include design regulations to ensure that the character of Hooper is reflected. Skipping down a paragraph, from the data and the survey responses, it is clear that Hooper needs economic development strategies tailored to its small town culture. The addition of a handful of several local small businesses in a small Main Street area, as provided for in the future land use map, would accomplish several things. Provide convenience, access to goods and services, local employment, increase local employment opportunities, increase city revenue through sales tax, enabling desired community improvement like parks and trail maintenance and expansion, strengthen the city's sense of place, showcase the city's historic and cultural roots, serve as a gathering place for the community, and promote walking and biking. Ordinances regarding the style, design, and density of the commercial area can ensure that all new businesses reflect Hooper's character. Some of the comments that were made that were included in the general plan, I would like to see more small to medium-sized businesses come to Hooper. This area could be considered the heart of the city and provide many opportunities for small shops and cafes. It could be a gathering place and an appealing entrance to our city. This would be one of the only ways to increase tax revenue without increasing property taxes. Hooper must add some form of businesses to keep the city affordable to live in. The look and feel needs to be a unified Old Town charm. I think this would take away from the rural atmosphere of Hooper. And main concern is safety. Another concern would be what is allowed on Main Street. I would like to see mom and pop shops, no big box stores or chains. In addition, if you go to page 30, item 41, one of our strategies that we are trying to accomplish with the plan reads, encourage commercial industrial development that is compatible with the rural atmosphere and that will not have an adverse impact on surrounding properties and land uses. Adopt design standards to guide commercial development in the future center, including requirements for parking to be located in the rear of buildings, pedestrian-oriented signage, landscaping requirements, sidewalk-facing primary entrances, and transparency window requirements. In Survey 1, which was completed during the recent revision of the general plan, 52.87% of residents disagreed or strongly disagreed that Hooper should have a commercial area dedicated to retail and office space. In Survey 2, also completed during the general plan revision, the majority of residents indicated they would support funding city improvements through locally owned shops, restaurants and cafes, as well as small but not necessarily locally owned retail restaurants and cafes. And I already read you the results of the most recent survey that we did. We talked about the different zones that were requested in the residential area. In Survey 1, 83.2% of residents indicated they strongly disagreed or disagreed that Hooper should provide more housing choices to include duplexes and townhomes. while 79.86% strongly agreed or agreed that Hooper should encourage single-family homes on larger lots. 50.68% of residents also indicated it was very important for their children to remain in Hooper. When asked in survey number two, what the biggest factors would be that would impact the next generation's decision to stay and live in Hooper, around 80% indicated a feeling of safety and security and preserving the rural, small-town, family-friendly feeling of Hooper. Survey number two also showed that the majority of residents indicated they would like housing units to be built on large lots designated at least 1 acre, and that new housing units have a minimum frontage of 150 feet. With that being said, to me it was pretty clear in the general plan that the residents would not be in favor of opening the general plan to put in higher density housing. However, they also indicated that we are going to give more taxes in order to fund improvements and take care of the things in the city. So my personal opinion is we would need, if we decided to go forward with something like this, we would need to have a fiscal impact analysis to be able to look and see that it would be a substantial benefit to our city economically in order to justify doing something that I feel like does not necessarily go along with what the general plan says. That's just my opinion. I also believe, it's my feelings that, you know, if we decide to go forward with the Smiths, I'm not in support of opening the general plan and putting higher density housing in based on the results from the general plan that it tells us we are supposed to decide when making decisions. That's what I came to hear what everybody else has to say.
Amanda, really quick, Blake Severing on Zoom has a couple questions.
Okay.
If you just tell him he's more than welcome to unmute himself.
Are you there, Blake? No, I forgot he was there. Can he type it into chat on there? Or?
Well, he typed in his question, but it doesn't make sense. So that's why I'm
Okay.
like, I'm like, let me let you unmute yourself so you can ask, but I guess he's.
You can't unmute.
We can unmute him. I asked him to unmute. He's gonna have to do it.
I'll let you know when he unmutes. Is that okay?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so on the west side of this development, what is the proposed lot size they're requesting?
On the west side, that it looks like quarter-acre lots currently.
Okay, because I'm just looking at the Marley subdivision directly west of those that abuts this, and they're all 13,000 square feet. So aren't they quarter acre?
No, it's 30. It's 30. Third acre lots.
They're third acre.
Yeah, Blake, they had indicated that they would be willing to change that to third acre to match what's next to it.
Okay. All right. I know there was a couple questions that if this was to go through, then 4,700 would become the commercial district. But if you look at the general plan, we only designated a sliver along 5,500 and 4,000 for commercial, not any going any farther north on 4,700. So I don't think that is warranted as far as a concern.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification, Blake. I had that in my notes from comments as well, and it's a good point.
One of the things that we discussed a little bit was the CRA, and I wasn't at the city council meeting on Thursday, but when I went back and listened to the minutes, or to the recording, it was presented that we would have to approach several different taxing entities in order to see if they would participate in that CRA. And it was mentioned by the gentleman who came in, who I can't remember his name.
Ron Sand.
Ron Sand, as well as Reed, I believe that there was a good chance that the city would be asked to contribute our sales tax revenue for several years to because we wouldn't have any skin in the game since we don't have a property tax. So that's something that I would be really concerned about. The pull of this, to me, is the fact that there would be some revenue that would be coming to the city. But if that revenue would have to go towards this CRA, then I don't see how that would be a benefit. Because putting it in, there would be, yes, it would cover the cost of putting the infrastructure in to begin with, but what about the resulting maintenance? And if there are additional law enforcement costs, other things, other costs that come from putting in a development, if we weren't receiving that sales tax income, how would that work as far as being a benefit to Hooper? That's a concern that I have.
Well, all I can tell you is what they presented at the meeting the other day. And I tried to push him on that, and his comment was that you may or may not have to put property or put sales tax in. You don't really have much property tax. There's not much of that you can put in. And then keep in mind, of course, property tax these people will be contributing is not existing property tax. It's just the increment, the increase in property tax from this development. So they're not giving up anything that they have. They're giving up something that they might get if the development goes in, but if it doesn't go in, they don't have it. So it's not quite as hard to sell as you might think, because they know without it, they don't get anything. If they do it in 10 years or 15 years, whatever the period is, they get the full tax. So there is some negotiating power there that is available. The county has already indicated that they go on. The other big party would be, of course, the school district. And what they would do, I don't know. I would guess they've got a policy that's consistent between cities. So it probably would be hard to find out what they're going to do, but I don't know. And in terms of whether that was tax increment funding was intended by the developers, I guess we'd have to ask them that, or whether the smaller lots would justify them building the lift station with or without that. I don't know. That's I guess, part of the financial analysis.
I know you said you don't know for sure how you're going to fund the lift station, so I don't know if this question is a moot point, but if the CRA is not on the table, is it still possible for you to move forward with the project? Or would you even know that at this point?
So it's really important, I hope I didn't misspeak, that this project won't move ahead if we don't put the lift station in. And that lift station has to be put in. The exact financing model, we don't know. I can hear you talking about it, and if you don't know what it is, we don't know exactly what it is, but there's options out there. Typically, we get a rezone subject to that being worked out. Then it gives us the credibility, the motivation to go talk to these taxing entities to find out if they want to participate. If it doesn't happen, then we come back and don't have our zone. But we have to have, it's kind of a chicken and egg, you've got to be able to move forward. So if we don't know that this will be approved, it doesn't make sense for us to go talk to those taxing entities or anyone to do it. Does that make sense? So we've got to build that model, but very clearly, you've got somebody that is right next to the sewer pump station that's paid his impact fees, that are paid for his portion of that sewer pump station, and he can't have sewer because it's not built. And you're not going to solve this until that sewer pump station is built. And the only way we can go forward is to build it too. So very clearly, we will participate, we will build part of that sewer lift station, or we won't do the project because it can't be built without.
So you would contribute financially towards the...
Oh, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, also will everybody else that hooks onto it. I mean, that's common knowledge that you don't build something like that without people participating in it. Either it's an impact fee charged by the city or a pioneer agreement that actually gets paid back to the developer that gets put in. So
I'm sorry, we have to be able to hear Mr. Adams.
Somehow it gets paid for, but whoever pays for it, the people who hook onto it would actually participate in it.
Yeah, you're not looking to the city to build.
No, it's a combination of efforts, and again, every municipality has different ideas, and we're not sure what Hooper wants to do, so it's really not fair for me to speak for the city or the city council.
Thank you. I read this little excerpt from some research that I had done when we had the previous meeting regarding a fiscal impact analysis, and I just want to read it one more time. It says, because the information supplied by developers is typically incomplete and may not represent an unbiased analysis of the public costs and benefits of a project, a growing number of cities now require that retail development proposals undergo a comprehensive fiscal impact analysis conducted by an independent consultant chosen by the city and paid for by a fee assessed to the developer. Such an analysis can provide city officials with a more complete picture of the impacts and help them determine whether to approve or reject a project. So that's part of the reason why I keep bringing this up is I feel like it is important that the city goes into this with their eyes wide open so that we don't get in a situation where down the road, this could end up being a great thing economically for Hooper, but it also might not. And I think we have to be able to look at the whole picture and make an educated decision. So those are my thoughts. I did print out a fiscal impact analysis that was done. This was on a different city, and they're very detailed. They take into consideration everything you can think of, and they look at what the proposed revenue and costs are immediately, 10 years down the road, and 20 years down the road, which I think would be helpful in this case. This is something brand new to Hooper. We have nothing to go off of, and as was mentioned, there are quite a few grocery stores already in the area. We do have a major highway that's going to be coming through. All of those things I think would need to be taken into consideration when that analysis is done. Do you guys have anything to say?
How much does one of those run the city? Just out of curiosity.
So that's something that, I mean, based on what I've read and my personal feelings, I don't feel like the city should be the ones paying for it, but when I talked to the mayor, I think she mentioned the number around 15,000 is what something like that would cost, but I can't answer that.
Didn't it say in there that it's passed on to the developer?
Yeah, what I read said that the city, an independent consultant chosen by the city and paid for by a fee assessed to the developer.
So if we run that, not sound dumb, but if we run that, the developer pays it out of pocket, or if we deny it, do we pay for that? Because we don't, do we assess fees if we deny it?
Well, we have people that come in and they apply for conditional use permits, and they have to pay a fee, and then permit could still be denied. I think it's the risk that you take. I would assume there's quite a large amount of money to be made off of this development, that, $15,000 may be a drop in the bucket to a developer, but if we go forward with something like this without having that data to go off of, and then we get down the road and we realize the costs outweigh the benefit, I think it would be a lot worse than the 15,000. So I don't know, but
No, I was just curious, because we don't want to stick Hooper City with $15,000.
Right.
And then, deny.
Any other discussion by the commission?
One thing that, I'm in agreement on the fiscal impact study. When Stephanie was here originally, I'm going to quote her from memory. I believe what she said was, we would not be doing our due diligence if we did not have that study done.
Correct.
So I think that she told us herself that was something that was important, which is kind of in, goes opposed to what she said today, like, oh, you don't really need one of these. So I thought that was interesting, and my personal opinion, I think that this would be good for Hooper. But I don't have all the data myself, so I don't feel like I'd be looking at the picture completely if I didn't have that study in front of me to verify what I think to be the case at the moment. Some other concerns I have with this are as some people have talked about, what happens if we hit a recession or something like that, and we've got this rezoned, trying to put in houses there, and, we don't get the Smiths for 10, 15 years, whatever, so, I would definitely want this to have a condition that it's done in phases with the Smiths being either completed first or running concurrently with the housing section, so that we didn't have something like that happen where we are stuck with an empty field with higher density housing. Like, I feel like we're giving up something, and that should be easy compromise, in my opinion.
We want to look at a little more clarification on PUD too. I mean, it just says no apartments. Do we want to, can we zone that for different too?
So what are your thoughts as far as I know we've mentioned townhomes and we've mentioned patio homes. Do you have an idea of how many or what you're asking for exactly in there so we know what we're basing this off of?
Yeah, I think Mr. Wallen indicated earlier in his presentation that if the planning commission, and again, it's your recommendation, if you were to make a motion that it was done with changing the application from quarter acre lots to third acre lots, we've indicated, we can do it through a development agreement, so it's signed, there's no apartments there. If you don't want townhomes there, we think there's an application for it, but if you don't, you could say no townhomes in the PUD, it'd have to be all patio homes. That's your recommendation, so the motion would be subject to, not the change of that zone to an to a third acre zone, and even subject to, a feasibility study. You could do whatever you wanted, so, but we'd be open to all that.
Is the commercial zone contingent on the 15 acres of PUD in the center there, or are you open to other options for zoning?
When we were looking at the analysis, I think there were, in the whole area, I was on a phone call with someone, it's hard when you do Zoom calls and who's on it, but in the early process of this, they were trying to figure out how to pay for the lift station. And I think there were another developer that had 20 lots, I don't know who it would be, or somebody else in the area that had so many lots. But we couldn't get to 100 lots, even with the zone on this piece of property. And so when you took 100 lots and you took a $2 million lift station, without any real infrastructure on it, that'd be, $20,000. It just didn't work. And so the other developers went away. I think we've got to run numbers. I think the numbers have to be feasible. You can't bring a $450,000 home in with the sewer lift station costing $20,000 a lot. So we need to know what our zone is so we can go do some analysis and go do something that can be continued with a development agreement. But somehow somebody's got to make a decision so we can run some numbers that actually are feasible, and then we can go work with the entities. Does that make sense?
So if the city chose to participate in a CRA where it would, and all of the other entities agreed to do that, where it would significantly lower your cost or completely take it away of putting in that lift station.
We've run numbers, we won't take it away. We're going to pay. Okay, that's a good thought. It's a nice thought, but it won't happen because there isn't enough tax increment to take it away. There's about $2 million in tax increment there. Okay.
So if we did it, and it was the most benefit that we could get, would there be enough that you would consider putting in the Smiths, the commercial, and leaving the adjacent residential the way that the general plan wants it, since
I think that'd be hard to do with the 3/4 acre lots. And maybe I didn't read your general plan right, but I thought in the general plan it actually encouraged higher density housing around the commercial. Now maybe I didn't read it right, but I saw it in there.
I believe you're correct with the verbiage, but I think considering that the majority of our west is acre lots, or I think think they said the average in Hooper was like 2 point something if you averaged out all of the land when I was looking at it earlier. When we put together this general plan, we have as you know, Mary mentioned, west of 5900, our future land use map has an R1 designation, and then up to 51, can't remember exactly where that's at, but it's 3/4 of an acre, and then to the east, there's some half-acre designation. And so for Hooper, that is considered higher density than what has been out here.
So it seems a little, I don't know if it's vague or just a conflict or whatever else, but there's commercial here, you know, doesn't give the depth of it, but if you could say it needs to be 100 foot or whatever or fit the Smith. So a little vague, but where you do have in your general plan, the next Smiths is higher density or high density. High density isn't the 3/4 acre lots, so it appears that there's an opportunity to do something else here according to your general plan. Now, again, I could read it wrong, but at least that's how it appeared as we read it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Do you have, can you pull up the land use map?
We've got it right here, Amanda.
Okay, so on the side in our book, I don't know if it's going to show it on there, but it kind of classifies the designations. So the 3/4 acre lots, let's see. Yeah. That's why I wondered if that cost, because the $2 million, if the CRA absorbed some of that, and you've got other developers in that area that have been waiting for this that would tie into it, I just wondered if it would offset things enough by them going forward with the Smiths if the fiscal impact analysis shows that it's a benefit. And then keeping our current designation and our future land use map for those homes. I thought, maybe I was thinking of something else, but I thought it had a designation of what was considered higher density. Must be something different. No, I can't find it. Anyway. Well, we need to make a decision. So,
I don't think we can really make much of a decision without seeing fiscal impact and things like that, in my opinion.
Can't hear you.
What? Sorry. Nobody wants to usually hear me. I don't think we can really make a good decision without seeing the impact study, without having all the information in front of us. Give us a little bit of time to try to understand it. I'm from Hooper. It might take me longer than other people to understand it, but yeah, I don't think we can really do that. Make a decision without having that information.
Well, and maybe we come up with, more of what we want in the PUD. Because I mean, it would be good to have some patio homes there. Having a 21-year-old, I'd like to see him stay in Hooper, he can't afford less. So I mean, maybe that's something that we look at, kind of pitch more of an idea to them that we put patio homes in here with the fiscal plan,
Are patio homes always age restricted? That was my understanding, like with the, no?
Not that I know.
No, not unless you do it in the HOA.
Okay.
I thought we were.
I thought they were too, but
I know the ones that they were suggesting, were, I think that was their decision. And that was kind of the sales point to the council.
I don't see it, senior housing.
That doesn't help me.
No, that doesn't help the future of Hooper. We have to start small and then go big.
A lot of aging population.
So if we're 1/3 acre lots and 1/2 acre lots and patio homes, any idea of what numbers that would be? Trying to figure out what the contribution to the $2 million
Can you go back to the bubble drawing?
I got it here, never mind.
This one you want?
Yeah, I've already got it right there, thanks.
So, I mean, we could table it and make it subject to a fiscal impact analysis. We could recommend an approval with conditions with the condition of having a fiscal impact analysis. And the other conditions, I mean, I think I've expressed my views on opening the general plan and putting in higher density than what's currently approved. I'm not in favor of that, but you guys are gonna have to make the motion because I can't do it, so. I can't do it.
Chairman, I don't know if you want the answer you asked.
Sure.
Our preliminary analysis, quick, just off of what we, for the math we ran, it's about 60 rooftops.
In the total or just the PUD? Sorry, I missed that part, so.
Totals.
Oh, total, okay. Including all zones.
It's not included, it does not include 60.
That does not include the lots facing 4700 that are.
The additional ones.
They're owned by a different owner.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we table the rezone request pending financial or fiscal impact study and anything else.
I think we need to probably designate or verify if, because they mentioned they already have a study that's done.
Yeah, it needs to be a third-party study paid for by the developer.
Right.
Pending a third-party fiscal impact study paid for by the developer,
And chosen by the city council.
chosen by the city council, recommended by the city council.
And I think that if we get something like that that shows this is a benefit, then we can revisit it. Does that sound like a good motion? Anything else anybody wants to add that we've missed or that you suggest?
Some kind of fiscal analysis. And I suppose some discussion on size of those lots and so some clarification.
We can't hear you guys.
Sorry, so the motion was that it would be tabled until we received a fiscal impact analysis completed by a independent party chosen by the city council and paid for by the developer. And then it would come back to the commission and we could review it at that time and discuss further the adjacent residential.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Commissioner Widdowson and a second from Commissioner Greener. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay. At this point, we can open this up to citizen comment for anything that was not on the agenda tonight. Okay, seeing no citizen comment, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I have a motion for adjournment by Commissioner Greener and a second by Commissioner Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Aye.